What's up, everybody? We're back. We're podcasting. We are doing a season 1.5. That's just going to be probably one episode. If this goes crazy long, we might chop it into two, but maybe just one long one. So I am your host, Anthony Oliveira, Trigger Warning Conjugate. If you're here, you know who I am. My co-host here, Roman with the keep this going best last name in the fucking league, Mustachio. He hates it. He might. Hey, listen, I don't even know. He might love his last name, but he hates me bringing it up every time. We're here. We're podcasting. Let's just do the normal stuff before we get into it. But so how are you, Roman, and how's training going for you, getting ready for WPO?
I'm doing good. I quite like my last name, but you're just too nice to me, Anthony. You're too nice. Training's going pretty good. Everything's ramping back up. I got in the shirt for the first time since my last meet on Wednesday. It went really well. Took 735 to a one board. Just kind of feeling it out. That kind of told me all I need to know for pretty much like attempts and whatnot. So very excited about that. Box squats are going well. Deadlifting going pretty all right. Feeling good, man. Feeling
Sick.
good. How about you?
I let's see. I'm gonna adjust this volume. Cool. I fucked my back up pretty good. Uh,
Yes, you
and
did.
with a really big chain squat, and I was fighting that for a little bit, but I think we're back on course. Last night I did cambered bar, 4 chains, did 7 sets with 565 and plus the chains, and then one set with 605, which I haven't sent you those videos yet, and I will. Went pretty
Cool.
well. Back is just, it's one of those things where you just like, if I do something stupid, I will tweak it. So I have to just like, it's
Yeah.
almost like Val said that like my squats look better when I'm hurt because I am like so intentional. Like my deadlifts too. Like I'm so intentional with like my bracing. Um, but yeah, basically I'd say I'm back to like 85%, which is like 40% better than I usually feel when I'm in prep. So I'm pretty excited about prep, and everything's been going good. We just did a t-shirt drop that did pretty well. So Trigger Warning is rolling, and the gym is kicking ass right now. We've got a bunch of people who are getting ready for the Winnie Memorial. And yeah, man, overall, I'm just, everything is pretty tight right now. Get, the beginning of meet prep is always weird though. You really want to hit the gas, and you kind of have
Yeah.
to, it's like that. I made that post a little while ago where it's like, training is long-term goal, peaking is short-term goal. But then
Hmm.
even like in training, or even in peaking, you have to, it's still a slow build. It's like, it's so hard to not just like hammer the gas. Um, and so I've been feeling pretty good. Body weight is higher than normal, and I feel solid. I'm pretty sure I broke my other elbow, in a way, like chipped it. But I'm just ignoring it and pretending that it's not a thing. You gave me a bunch of those Donnie Thompson like elbow TKE things, and that was like crazy helpful.
Dude, aren't those like Jedi mind tricks, like absolute black
They
magic
look like
shit?
they're going to hurt me so badly. And then I just do them. And while I'm doing them, it's like miserable. And then as soon as I take the band off, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, this is great. It's like the first
Yeah.
time you have like a crazy low back pump and someone's like, oh, you should do like some standing cable abs, and your back pump goes away. You're like, I'm an idiot for not having known this. That's how I felt about those. So
If if you don't know what we're talking about, just go on YouTube and look up "Hey Bo, how's that elbow?" and watch like the 4 Donnie videos that pop up about it. I mean, elbow TKEs are one of like the like least known but most helpful things. They were huge for me because when I first started getting into the 600s benching, uh, at the time, like the crew I was training with, we were just like living on the bow bar and the straight bar, and that was just wreaking havoc on my elbows the way I was squatting at the time. And that is probably the elbow TKEs are probably the only reason my elbows still work right now after that period of my
Isn't
training.
TKE terminal knee extension? That's like a
Yes, it
very
is. That's
funny, it's just like funny. I thought about that when I was doing them the other day. I'm like,
yeah.
these are elbow terminal knee extensions.
Yeah, dude. That's why it's important to be like their elbow TKEs, right? I guess they should be TEEs, right? Terminal elbow
Just
extension,
doesn't
but
have
I
the
don't know. That's
doesn't
what
have the
Donnie calls
same
them.
ring to it. So yeah, everything's
It
good
doesn't.
here, man. I'm stoked and like I'm uh I'm excited for this sort of special podcast we have going on.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of housekeeping stuff we should get out of the way. Like, this is not season 2. There will be a season 2. We're kind of working on some administrative stuff. We're kind of tossing around the idea of lining up some sponsors for season 2. Um, if you're interested in that, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to talk to you. But in the meantime, we're reaching out to a few people right now, making our rounds. We're gonna do season 2 no matter what, just because we really enjoy doing this. But today, I don't know if you would say we're really drumming up hype for season 2 or more just kind of like blowing the top on a pretty crazy story. But this is gonna kind of be like the tell-all. I think it's going to answer a lot of questions people have had for many, many years about your career,
Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah, so it's it's weird to talk about myself in the so people who are watching, we're going to try and do video for this too. If you see me looking at my phone, it's not cuz I'm not paying attention, it's cuz I'm writing shit down that I don't want to forget. Um but yeah, the tell all, I have been getting asked how I left Westside or why or the circumstances, and um, I'm ready to talk about all that. Um, it's
Yeah.
you know it's a weird thing. Um, Obviously, there's a documentary that's being filmed. Michael Fahey's doing, and I've kept a lot of this stuff under wraps because of its involvement in the movie. Um, but it's been so long, and I talked to Michael the other day, and he gave me the go ahead to just to speak my piece and tell my story. And I just want to be like, before we get into it, I want to be very fucking clear. I am not anything that I say today. I'm not trying to disrespect Louis or West Side or its um, history or how it operated. It is There are parts of this story that may make Louis look bad or might make other people look not great. There's plenty of it that doesn't make me look great. But what happened and what happened fucking happened. And,
Hmm.
you know, it, it's really difficult because it's like I am very grateful for my time that I spent there. Um, I wouldn't be where I am now without it. And at the same time, you can hold a lot of anger towards somebody or towards a situation. And I don't think I handled everything great. And I don't think people there handled everything great. But what happened happened, and I'm here to tell my story about that. But I guess I should probably give a little bit of background, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know how
I
far
mean,
back.
yeah. I mean, I think, a lot of people have heard a good bit of your story about like how you got into powerlifting, how you got into gear. So I think we should really, I mean, if you want to give like the Cliff's notes of that, I think that'd be helpful for people who haven't. And then maybe we could talk about like how you got on Louis' radar.
Yeah. So short version is obviously like athlete my whole life. Got like also party animal my whole life. Found drugs, loved drugs. I could joke about it now. I've got I think this year will be 13 years in September, I believe, off of opiates. I was a 147-pound homeless scumbag. Um, and, you know, I found lifting through that and, you know, getting clean off of that. And then, you know, found my purpose sort of through lifting weights and what I wanted to do. And, and then kind of like went from basically like, to really condense the story, basically went from like working out at Planet Fitness so that I had a way to torture myself for how guilty I felt, you know, for everything I did when I was in addiction. And that kind of worked its way. The storyline goes all the way to Westside from there, right? In between, I, you know, obviously found a gym in Concord. It's actually the gym that we ended up purchasing when we moved out here. So it's like full circle. But I worked there under a guy named Brian Silfies, and he was a Westside certified gym back when when it mattered, right? When that title
Mhm.
meant something, and he is certified. He was Westside certified when it like the failure rate was like 86% or something like that.
And wasn't that I know a lot of people know about the Westside Special Strength Certification, like the Rule of Three cert and that kind of stuff, but I don't think a lot of people remember there was a time when your gym, not you as a person, but your gym was Westside
Yeah, you
certified.
had to have, I believe, it was like a pro athlete, like two Division 1 athletes. You had to have like a reverse hyper, a belt squat, all the bars, access to bands and chains. There was stuff. Obviously, it's a great marketing thing from Westside because you had to buy a bunch of shit from them, right?
Yeah.
But also it meant something. When I was there, it was one of 8 um, in the world that were Westside certified. So when
That's
he took
phenomenal.
his test, the test he took was short answers only, like no multiple choice. And Louis called him about one of the answers and was like, "What did you mean by this?" Yeah.
Brutal.
So
Holy
so
shit.
the maybe the second week I was interning there, he gets a call and hangs up the phone, and I was like, "Oh, was that?" And he was like, "Oh, that was Louis." I talked to him every so often. I was like, "Holy shit." So we went out there. Um, my first time out there was 2 days after I bombed out of my last raw meat, and uh, put a canvas on, squatted 705. Um, with my best squat at the time was 655, and smoked it. And it was great and whatever. That was sort of my introduction to Lou. Spent a little bit of time there, maybe like a week or something, 5 days, and then uh, went home. Went back there for my first multiply meet was one that Dave put on, and then Dave Hoff, and then I kind of talked to Louis then as well. But I was like, I wasn't shit. I did like I think I squatted 755, benched like 460 or 455, and pulled 640. It was like I think it was like an 1,800-pound total maybe at 220.
Mhm.
Came back to New Hampshire, did like ended up totaling 2,000. I went like 1,900, then 2,000. Actually, I was telling this story the other day that I'd forgotten. They put out the year that I went out there earlier in the year. Louis put out a video that he was looking for lightweights. Like he was like, yeah, he
Really?
put out a video. He was like looking
That's
for
cool.
guys who were like 165ers. I think that's how they found Wes McCormick.
Mm.
Which is hilarious. But I remember I messaged um, the GM over there and was like, hey, because I kind of had a relationship with him a little bit. We just like had spoken a little bit, and he said, you know, I was like, what do I got to do? I'm 225 pounds. Like, he's like, well, what are your numbers? And I told him, he's like, those aren't good enough. I'm like, okay, fine. Like, you know, great. And then we were going out there for a push pull. uh Louis saw me. He said, what are you going to do this weekend?" I said, "I'm going to bench 5, pull 7, and then I'm going to come in here on Monday and squat 9." He said, "What are your best numbers?" I said, 480, 640, uh 850. And he was like, "Okay." So they were all like pretty sizable PRs, and I'd had knee surgery too. Um and I did all of those things. So then when we left, um, Tom called Brian and asked if I wanted to. well, Lou said you should do this meet with us down in West Virginia. I said, it's in like whatever, 10 weeks. And I was like, sick.
Hmm.
Yeah, hell yeah. And then Tom called Brian after he left and said Lou would like Anthony to come and do Circamax here if possible. So I literally took a credit card out to buy my plane tickets and flew out, did Circamax, did 655 plus a blue and a green, I believe. And then I just asked Louis if I could train there, and he said, yeah. And I said, what do I have to do to train here? And he said, I thought he was going to give me a list of shit that I'd have to do. And yeah, so then I went and he just said, yeah, you can train in the morning. So I was stoked out of my mind. I said, all right, let me just do this meet and then give me a couple weeks after that and I'll be out here. He said, great. So went and did that meet. Didn't know that meet was a tryout meet until deadlifts. I thought I had already like quit my job, like broke up with the dude.
Oh shit.
Dude, I had already like broke up with the girl I was dating at the time. I had already like all of the boats were burned, brother. Like I was fucking
All of the eggs were in
dude.
that basket.
And then we're getting ready to deadlift. My best deadlift in a full meet was 670. My best deadlift in a push pull was 700. So I'm arguing with the guy that's handling me about what I'm going to open with, and I was like, I don't really want to open with 675. That seems kind of sketchy. I just squatted 9 for the first time, like and so we asked Tom, and Tom Barry goes, he goes, well, it's not like you've got an invite to Westside weighing in the balances, so, and I was like, oh fuck, this is a tryout meet. Holy
Pressure's on.
shit. And so I opened 675, pulled it, missed 700 twice or 705 twice. And I was leaving, and as Lou's like, well, so we'll see you in 4 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it was. And I said, yeah. And he goes, I'll put 100 pounds on your squat in 3 months. And I said, okay. And I moved out there September 7th and December 10th. And my best squat was 905. And December 10th, I squatted 1,000. Almost like literally to the day, 3 months. They put
That's
90,
fucking nuts.
95 fucking pounds on my squat.
And that's a big
Yeah,
95 pounds from
I
9 to
said
a
it that
G.
day. I was like, and that'll be my last 100-pound squat PR. Like, that ain't gonna fucking happen. But I took a big jump. All of a sudden, I went from totaling 2105 to, I think that day I totaled like 2230 or something like that. It's a big, because I PR'd my bench. Like it's a big,
It's
yeah. It
fucking
was
nuts,
it was
dude.
like it was like
That is
stupid. So I'm sitting there thinking I like went up a weight class for that because I didn't cut. He told me I had a shit meet at 220. My first meet out there, I had a 5-pound PR total. And Louis was like, "There's another meet in I think 4 weeks. You're not going to cut weight." And I said, "Okay." And I did it, and I went 880, jumped to 930 because the floor seemed kind of fucked. Smoked 930 for a 25-pound PR, and then jumped 70 pounds to 1,000. Some and some
floor was kind of fucked, still made the 70-pound jump.
somehow
I
I
like it.
squatted it. But yeah, so that's kind of like how I ended up out there. And it kind of progressed from there. I guess I don't even really know, like, we've been talking about this, and it's like I don't even really know how to like go into the story of like how everything kind of became unraveled.
So, I mean, before that, let's maybe throw a little more context out there. So, like, you're in the morning crew at this
Correct.
point. This is not night
No,
crew.
yeah,
This
this
is
is like,
before that, predating
yeah.
all of that. So, who is the morning crew at that time?
So when I got there, it was pretty slim pickings, honestly. When I first got there, it was Dimitri. Do you remember Dimitri? He did all of the like those like Westside like YouTube videos where they were training, and it's all like bow chicka down down down, and it had like this like terrible rock music behind it. Um, that's how we picked.
Yes,
That's how
that
we
rings
picked
a
a lot
bell.
of our workouts, was we would watch those videos. But he filmed those and edited those and put them up. Dimitri, Coker, Joe Rother. I mean, that was basically it. Like for like the crew, right? And then there was obviously like Jake Anderson and Luke and Chuck had just come back, but they trained at
Mhm.
8. Like they would start lifting at like 8.
That was like the
Yeah, we
mid-morning
started at
crew.
7.
Yeah.
So they would be at breakfast sometimes. Like Chuck usually came to breakfast, but um dude, I gotta tell, like total transparency, it's so weird to just be like freely speaking about these things. It just feels
Yeah, you've kept
it
it tight to your chest for a
feels
long
really
time,
fucking
dude.
weird. But yeah, so all those dudes, we got there and I remember the first day there, I will never fucking forget this. First day there on the Monday, Louis was like, "We're deadlifting." I'm like, "Okay." Uh 2-inch deficit, conventional. And I'm like, this is the opposite of everything I want to fucking do. At this point, I never pulled conventional. I was fucking awful. And it was me and Joe Rother. And I remember I fucking 5-pounded him. I like went over and put chips on the last one and I beat him. And I was expecting like some sort of praise and no one gave a fuck because it was still only it was like
Stonewalled.
585 or something. It was, you know what I mean, and so, and I remember Lou came over and he's like, "Come on!" So I was Lou's toy at that. I was the new shiny toy, and so he brought me over to the belt squat, had me do just like hip hinge because he's like, "You've got no ass." He goes, "You have." He
Mhm.
goes, "Oh, I think we did good mornings first, and I could barely do 2 plates for 5." And he started laughing his ass off at me. He's like, "It's remarkable how weak you are for how strong you are." He says, "You've got 1,100-pound legs and about a 750 low back and ass." I'm like, fuck, okay. Now I'm thinking at this time that I have a huge ass and a very strong low back because I'm comparing myself to the people I had been around. And then you start looking around and you're like,
Mhm.
I have no cheeks. You start looking around, it's like, oh, Christian Mello was in the mornings too. He's fucking 5'10, 300 pounds with a donkey ass. Like, it's like, you start looking around, you're like, oh, I have like a little boy's butt, And I'm like, okay, so I need to build this, whatever. So put me in the in the belt squat, had me do like hip hinge, glute squeezes, and he literally goes, "I want you to do that till you're dead." And he go, "Okay." So I just did however many sets, 10 sets of it, whatever, and then went over to the reverse hyper. He's like, "Now you do reverse hypers," and he goes, "Dude, this was probably like one of the few acts of like true like compassion I was met with there." Louis goes, "Just do 2 sets. You're gonna be dead tomorrow. Like, just do 2 sets of reverse hypers and be done with it." And yeah, so that was like my first workout there. Wes McCormick at the time, I believe, was in prison or jail or whatever. He came back a few days later. Yeah,
Okay.
and so it was basically like, you know, on bench days, Coker basically trained alone. He trained on his bench. Um, he did a lot of stuff with like the McDonald bar. Lots of like heavy reps. He never did speed work. And no one really, I mean, based on who he is, you're not going to say shit to him. And then also based on like his pedigree of benches that he had done, no one's like, what are you
Yeah.
going to
He's
fucking
no
say, dude?
slouch.
Like the guy, you know what I mean? Probably been
Yeah.
benching 500 raw for longer than anybody in the building had been lifting for the most, you know what I mean? Like, so what are you going to say?
Mhm.
900 at 198 is pretty fucking good. So
That's insane, yeah. So, was he on his own bench because people couldn't keep up with him, or was it just because of the exercise selection would have, like, killed the
I
rest
would
of you?
say,
Or some
I would
combination of the
say
2?
100% personality based.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like he
Alright.
didn't really
Well,
want to
that
be in the mix
okay.
with a bunch of dumbasses. You know what I'm saying? Like I think he, I think
Yeah.
he kind of, in some ways he's very extroverted, in other ways he's very introverted. I think he just liked to be on the bench and just work out. I will tell you this
Mhm.
though. Have I told the story on here about the intern with the purple bands?
I think you told it, episode 5, the
Okay, yeah,
finale.
like where the kid had to like
Yeah.
we made him take it. We wouldn't let him. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so that was kind of the shit that was going on there, kind of an aha moment. And, um, squatting, I remember getting there and like Louis just coming over to me the first day squatting. We were squatting with a cambered bar with chains. And I remember him looking at me, and it was for some reason like other guys were putting their briefs on or something. And so it was just me getting under the bar, and he was on the mono. And I wasn't videoing anything at the time. Like I didn't want to be the guy with the camera, you know?
Mhm.
And man, it's so crazy to talk about this stuff. So he looks at me and he goes, "Now listen, I don't expect you to be very good at this right now. Like I know that we're changing a lot about what you're doing. I don't expect you to be good. Just try your best." And I remember being like, "Dude, like this guy, okay." Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, like this is
Mhm.
I
Like,
can
you
get
can get
down
down
with
with
like,
that.
yes, okay, I appreciate
Yep.
that, you know. And truth be told, when I went out there, I had it was either $600 or $800. I don't remember my bank account and whatever I could fit in a Prius. I'm living in fucking Christian Mello's house with his wife, her assistant, Wes McCormick, and Josh Stottlemyre. There's a fucking and three dogs, four dogs. Forever grateful for them taking me in. Um,
But
oh,
holy
holy
shit,
shit
yeah.
is right, dude. Um, so it was all just kind of just like it was just so much. It was all of it was just so much, and it just felt so crazy to me. I literally went out there and was just like, all right, I got $800. I've got 5 clients that pay me $50 a month, so I'm getting $250 a month. I don't really have rent. I can live on 200. I drive a Prius. I only have to put in like $25 worth of gas a week. Like I think I can be out here long enough to do something cool before I fuck it up and have to go home with my tail tucked between my legs. I literally that's how I looked at it. I was like I just I
Yeah.
gotta have enough money at the end of the day to fucking get gas in my tank to drive my ass home when I fuck this up because I had fucked up everything in my life before that. And why was this gonna be any different? You know? But when I got there and I really got into it and I saw like what other guys were doing, and I saw like the ability to like push yourself in this way that I hadn't really experienced before as more than just an individual. Like I always trained hard, but to see other
Mhm.
people that were willing to do that. Um, my first 2 months I was there, I did 1,000 reps of abs every day. I did it because I heard Chuck did it. And then I said something about it in front of Louis, and he goes, "Don't fucking do that. That's why his back's fucked up." And so,
There's just so many, like, funny Louis quotes like that are just like this A equals B thing, and they kill
yeah.
me every time. I love
Meanwhile,
it.
like realistically, like Lou probably told him he needed to do that or something. You know what I mean? Like who knows? So,
It was definitely a Louis
so,
idea, yeah,
so,
100%.
yeah. Like when I saw that, and I actually said like, I have a screenshot in my phone somewhere from Val. She had texted me. She's like, "Have you done your abs yet today?" And I was like, "Oh, I've done like 700 or whatever so far." And she said something like, uh, "But you said you were going to do 1,000. Like 700 ain't going to get you on the fucking board." Like literally, like
Gut checked you right
yeah,
then and
man.
there.
Like
Damn.
and because that was, I mean, fuck, dude. Like I wasn't out there to, you know, just lift weights. Like I was there to do the fucking thing, And
Mhm.
but to circle around, like to see all that stuff, I was like, okay, I have to make this work. I have to fucking like I'm never gonna get this opportunity again. Like I like this is huge.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, fuck it, let's go. Like I'll figure it out. And I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks into being there. Well, 3 weeks in, I had a job, uh, working construction, and then like another 3 weeks later, I had an apartment. Like like
Sick.
that,
Very,
like that.
very fast.
Because I just didn't. I was like looking around, and I'm like, I could probably fucking just sit in this house, stay here forever. They're never gonna ask me to leave. But I was like, okay, like I want to get Val out here. Um, we had been training partners forever, and then we kind of like we started dating before I came out, before I moved out, and you know. she wasn't sure when she was going to come and whatever. And it got pushed from like June to February to November. So she came out pretty quick. And, and yeah, it was just like this wild time in my life where it was just like, you just go to meets. You have all of a sudden like you're the new guy at Westside. You're the guy, and at the time, like, you know, nobody there had like a strong social media presence. So, and not like I had a really
Mhm.
strong one at the time either, but I definitely fucked with the internet. And so I was
Yeah.
like the guy who people kind of knew about a little bit. Like I was the new kid on the block, and there was this, um, I think people were kind of, I looked a little different than the guy. Like it's like usually the tattoos you see there are like prison tattoos and older sort of tattoos, and it's definitely like a different sort of style. And I show up with like a bunch of American traditional tattoos, big fucking mohawk, like, you know, it just kind of
Yeah.
looked a little different. So I think people, and obviously very intense lifter at the time, I didn't have less than psycho mode. I only had like, it was, if we're fucking, it was
All gas,
all
no
of it, dude.
brakes.
I was going. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, being in there and getting checked a few times by guys, like, I mean, shit, dude, like Jake Anderson didn't talk to me first month I was there. And I did a my best free squat in briefs and wraps was 742. It was on like a bow bar or whatever. And Lou came up to me and was like, "What do you want to do on Monday?" And I was like, "I know you guys don't free squat a lot, but like I love briefs and wraps, like for a free squat." And he was like, "How about you do? I'll meet you in the middle. We'll just do briefs, bare knee." I said, "Okay." So I ended up squatting 835. Joe Bayless was there. Joe was always so nice to me, man. And so he looked at me that day and he goes, "You figure out how to squat. You're gonna squat 1,000 this year." Like he was like, I fucking love Joe. He was
It's fucking
awesome, man.
cool.
Joe is the fucking man. And so I did that squat and I was standing there and Jake just kind of like walked by me and just goes, "Good squat." And that was the first that he even acknowledged that I existed. And to be honest with you, Jake Anderson probably said 25 words to me the entire time I was there. He's a very quiet guy. But something that was really cool. I had been there for maybe a month. I didn't really know Luke Edwards. I like, we had conversations, but like at the time, he's a different guy now. He's so bubbly and friendly
Yeah.
and sweet and awesome. And I hug him every time I see him. I fucking love Luke. He's the best. At the time, he was grumpy and intimidating and pissed off. And I think most people in his situation and his bad luck, like I'd be pissed off too. And
Oh, definitely,
and I
yeah.
just walked up to him and I was just like, "Hey man, like I know that you have been up and down the weight classes. My girlfriend back home, like she's looking for a pair of briefs. Like, do you happen to have like something laying around I could buy?" Goes out to his car, gives me basically a brand new pair of 36 grid stitched, right? Or they might have been 34s. I was like, what do you want for them?" And he was like, "Nothing, man. If they fit her, all I want is a PR for her. I don't want anything else." Just gave me the briefs, and I was
Love
like,
that.
"Man, like this is crazy." Like, just like kindness, right? And
Mhm.
and then when she came out to visit, she's like, "Hey, thank you for the briefs. Like, I'd love to pay you for them." He's like, "You don't owe me a fucking thing. What have you squatted in them?" Like he just, and so that was very cool. Luke was always so good to me there, and he was just even through all the bullshit, he was always such a great guy. So the 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 texture in the mornings there for the first year or so were great. It was awesome. Like, you know, John Armstead ended up coming in, um, and big motherfucker, big. He's like 6'7", fucking huge. Pulled 800, like, pretty good bencher. I think he benched high sixes or something like that. Not a great squatter. I think he squatted 1,000. But he's a tall guy. He didn't like getting in there. Like, you could tell squatting was not his thing.
Mhm.
But he came in and we kind of like partnered up. Like me, him, and Silent Joe trained together a lot because it's like all three sizes. Lou liked to put big guys with small guys because small guys want to do too much. Big guys don't want to do enough. So you put them together, they do the right amount. And then shortly after that, Josh Connolly came back out of retirement and came back and started getting serious. Um, and there was, it was good, man. Like, at that time it was kind of idealized. Like, we had fun. There's obviously always beef in gyms. There's just, how it is, dude. Like, people like to pretend that there's not conflict in groups, and that's just fucking not the case. Um,
Yeah, you put enough people together, there'll be
well, also, like,
problems.
how many hours you spend with these motherfuckers? Like, like
Oh, yeah.
hours and
And
hours
it's
and hours with these people, and competing. You know what I mean? Like, we're all competing with each other.
yeah, everyone's at each other's throats all the
Right.
time, like,
And
literally.
it was really fun. I had a few, times where, one time I was really frustrated to bench shirt and blah blah blah, and I had never benched 4 plates raw. I had benched 400, but I had never benched 4 plates. And I was getting frustrated with the bench shirt. Coker came over and he's just like, motherfucker, like, you get all hung up on the bench shirt. Like, I bet you can't even fucking bench 4 plates. Like, so then I'm out of the bench shirt and I worked up to 4 plates. uh, and that's kind of like, that's kind of how it was though. And then for a long time, me and Jason were, we call it squat wars on Monday. We'd go in and I would have people, if it was like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. on a Monday and I hadn't posted the squat, I would have messages from people being like, "What'd you do?" You know, and they
Everyone
were all
knew.
kind of waiting for it. And yeah, man, like, it was cool. I had a gentleman from out here messaged me before I left, and he said his name was Ryan Ruddy. He actually gave me my first Ultra Pro. He said to me, just know, like, there's people out here that maybe don't like you. He goes, you get out there, there's going to be a whole lot of people that don't fucking like you. There's going to be more eyeballs on you. There's going to be everything. So just be prepared for that. I'm glad he did, because I had 2 squats that got fucking eviscerated on the internet. Um, Pretty terribly in my first like year I was there. And they were gnarly, dude. Like, like, like fucking 10,000 comments or whatever. It was just a fucking nightmare. And I actually, one of my first like good interactions with Dave Hoff, we had some not so great ones early on. Um, but he says to me, messaged me, he's like, "Hey, like, I see all that shit." And he goes, "There's only 3 people that you need to get respect from other than yourself." And he said, "Your family, your God, and the people you eat breakfast with before the gym." And he was like, "Any of these other motherfuckers on the internet, fuck them." He goes, he said, "You only have so many fucks to give, and you're giving them to the wrong people." And that really helped. That was one of 2 things that Dave said to me that really changed my perspective on things. The other thing was, it's about your body of work. He said it's not about one meet; it's about all of your meets together, and that's what
Mm,
matters. It's not about the meet you're doing today; it's about everything. And man, I just had like, there's so many like little things that people said there to me that just like had such a big impact on me. Like
yeah.
Lou said to me the first time I was there, "No one's going to ask what you weigh; they're going to ask what you lifted." And
Yeah,
I have
that's true.
fucking heard that. It's like, like, you know, you hear that and you say that to people, and it kind of blows over their head. But then it's like, think about it, man. Like, you go to a
Oh,
family
yeah.
event or you go to your buddies or whatever. You think they fucking give a shit what you weighed? Like, they don't fucking care. That you, like,
No,
it's like
no.
you could
Yeah.
squat 1,200 at fat, right? Or you could squat 1,000 at 220. And if you were the same guy that did both of them and you told your family, they're not going to say, "Wow, 1,000 at that light of a body weight." They're going to say, "Whoa, 1,200, that's fucking crazy." And
Yeah.
so that really stuck with me.
At fat,
I
that's one of
stole
my
it from you.
favorite. Uh,
I s-
you did, yeah, I
you
say that a
motherfucker,
lot.
dude. I had a really fucking, yeah, whoever the fuck we were talking about the other day, that voice message got me. I was fucking dying, dude. Um
I know exactly the voice message you're talking about, yeah.
so yeah, so that was kind of like the texture there. Man, like, how do I get into the unraveling of it all? Um,
Well, I guess before we get into the unraveling very quickly, because a lot of people I think came in and out, and I think the people aspect is really
Sure.
interesting. Like, so the beginning, the morning crew is like slim,
Yes.
right? And then at the end, there was quite a few more people.
Sure.
So, is there anyone that you missed in the last like 20 or so minutes you're talking about that in that like time frame
Of
evolution?
people that came in.
Yeah, came in and left because a lot of people have come in and went right back out the other
Yeah, I
direction, you know?
mean, I think again, like I don't mean any disrespect. It's just these are facts, right? This is what happened. I think Josh Stottlemyre was there for 2.5 months.
Mhm.
He was always pretty banged up. Um, his story is not mine to tell, but him getting kicked out was very interesting since I lived with him at the time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like he was at that house with Mello. Um,
I'm sure that was awesome to come home to in the
very
morning when you were still there.
some
No
awkward
tension, yeah?
times. Honestly, dude, I was such an asshole at that time. I didn't give a fuck. I felt bad for no one. I did not feel bad for a single motherfucker. Don't feel bad for me because I won't feel bad for you. That's just how I had to operate. It was kind of like that stupid like cliche meme that's like sometimes to elevate you have to isolate. That was me. I didn't give a fuck, dude. Tunnel vision, like in or out. I said to my mother, I said to my own mother that if I squatted a grand at 30 and died at 31, I wouldn't give a fuck. Like
That's what your
I
mom
was
wants to
in.
hear.
I was in. Oh yeah, she was very impressed. Um, so yeah, so I'm trying to think if anybody like came in and came out. I don't think. I mean, there were some like interns here and there, that came in and came
Mhm.
out, and then there was obviously like um, this dude Dalton Hatch was there for 5 minutes or whatever. Um,
I know there was also you've talked to me about, like, there was like, old-timers would come in
oh
every now
yeah,
and then,
man.
like, especially on, like, dynamic bench days and stuff like that, people would pop in and pop out. Like, who were some of the cool faces that you got to see and meet and shoot shit with in the
Yeah,
morning?
man. Um, Tony Ramos, that guy is a stud. I fucking love that guy. He was so cool to me, like right off rip, man. He was always so kind to me. And now when I see him, it's like high fives and hugs. Like I fucking love Tony, but he was very cool to me. When we got there, I'm trying to think of who else. Like Joe Bayless was great. Amy Weisberger was always just like such a sweet lady. She was always so good to me, and she's Val's like favorite training partner of all time because she trained out at Sweatshop with her. Um, Guys would just like poke their heads in. Like Tony Baloney would just like randomly show up and squat and out squat everyone. And like,
Yeah, you told me about that. That's a
oh,
large
he's a big
human, isn't
boy.
it?
Yeah. And just like
Yeah.
bullfuck strong, dude. Just like crazy, crazy thick, crazy strong. Um, and then, you'd see like, I'm sure there were people that were there that I didn't even realize who they were. When I ended up
Mhm.
back at Westside and I was training with Dave, we would train in the mornings on Sunday. And that's where you
Mm.
would see some of the dudes that were like the OGs. That's like where I met Bob Coe and Jimmy Ritchie and
Oh,
those
shit.
guys. That's when you would see those dudes. But sometimes on Saturday mornings, when I was still in the morning crew, we speed benched on Saturdays instead of Sundays. We'd
Mhm.
show up and you'd catch like the tail end of you know, like George was still there sometimes, and
George
yeah, and
Halbert?
he would be
Wow.
training, like he had like a group that he was helping. Like it wasn't like, obviously I don't think he was like getting after it in the same way. And then
Well, yeah, yeah.
who was the guy who passed away? Mike Wolf, big,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mike
So he
Wolf,
would be
yeah.
in there on occasion on Saturday mornings. They'd be like finishing up when we were leaving. Um,
Mm.
because they would be in there a little earlier. I think on Saturdays we trained at 8 instead of 7. But they would be like
Mhm.
just heading out, and yeah, I mean like it's hard to like think back and get everything in order with like who I met there, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
is everybody. You'd see everybody in there, and then you'd see like I'd find out after, like, oh, that's so and so. Like, who the fuck is that guy? I don't know. There was no internet when he was lifting. You know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah, and you're kind of in like a giant living, breathing who's who of like all of the shit Louis wrote about for decades,
Dude,
you
yeah,
know? So it's got to be insanely overwhelming.
yes,
It's like, you know, like when you like first day of school, it's like you don't know who anyone is, so you don't remember anyone's name, right? Like that kind of shit.
yes.
Like,
I remember
yeah.
we hung out during the Arnold because people came through and Louis wanted people there to like talk or whatever, and Karen fucking Sizemore shows up, and I end up
Oh
talking to her
shit.
for like 2 hours. And that was so sick. She's so funny, dude. She was just she starts going crazy about the point 0.7 meters per second shit and how like
Oh god.
when they got the Tendo unit, like he just Lou like measured people's speed and like if you weren't inside of the like point 0.6 to point 0.8, he wouldn't write about you. He'd be like, oh, we're only gonna do like, and it's so funny.
It's
All
fucking
that shit
great.
too. Like I'm gonna over communicate this throughout this. Like it's no disrespect to Lou. That's how he operated. That's Lou's one of the realest
Yeah.
motherfuckers to ever exist because he just was who he was, and fuck you if you didn't like it. And I just respect it. So even though we didn't get along, I like I respect the fuck out of that. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so I guess things started getting weird when the internet stuff started picking up for me. Trigger warnings started doing a little better. I went out to New Hampshire to do a meet, squatted 1070. I didn't cut for that meet. Um, I the 1070 was high as dog shit, and it got fucking absolutely brutalized on the internet. Like just absolutely brutalized. And I think Louis kind of caught wind of that through people, just like little things here and there. So I, I could just feel like weird energy shift and whatever. Like it's fine. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. Whatever. And we would have like little tiffs here and there, but nothing crazy. And I always wanted to be respectful. I didn't want to be the shithead. So,
Mhm.
I've told the story a million times where I asked him, he's like, why aren't you doing fives? And I said, because every piece of literature you've ever written was doubles. And then he said, some guys want to work hard, some guys don't. And I fucking did a set of six and said, fuck you and all this stuff. And I think everybody kind of has those stories because you don't really know if he's saying that to get you to work hard or if he's saying that to like you don't know if he's saying it to try to get to push you or if he's saying it to try to um because he's pissed you're doing something that he doesn't, what I mean? Like who knows?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's a
Yeah.
win-win for him, right? Yeah, it's always a win-win for you. Do not win with Louis. um you do not, but you do, but you
That's
also
pretty funny.
you do win. It's a win-win for you too. um
It's
it's
chaotic neutral.
dude, 100, that is beyond perfect explanation. Yeah, quick story about that. I fucking Circa Max day. I love Circa Max at the time. It was like my favorite day. I fucking loved going against all the bands. It was so fun. It was on my shoulder.
It is fun, if
Yes.
nothing else. It's
Yeah,
really
like
fun.
not for my fucking AC joints anymore, but like with all the band tension. But
Well,
so I woke up the morning of and I look at my phone and it's light out in my bedroom. And my phone just has the Apple symbol on it. And I'm like, I am fucked. So I run out of the house. I actually ran out and Coker was sitting in his car in front of my house calling me. I come out and he goes, "You motherfucker," and then drives off like he's mad because I had him worried. And, and he's like pissed because he thought something happened to me or whatever. We were pretty close at the time. And so whatever. So I get to the gym, no warm up. There's already blue, green, purple on the bar.
awesome.
So I just go and I take it. And when you're running late, it's like the first 4 sets, you're sweating for no reason. Everything's just like, you feel like you're running around.
Oh, yeah, you're out of fucking
Terrible.
control.
So whatever. So
Yeah.
I go for my PR and I miss it. and I look over, and Armstead and Louis are talking to each other, and they just those like Louis just he did this. He would love to just sit over and talk to somebody off to the side, and it's to make everyone think that he's talking about you. They love that, right? So I thought I heard him say my name, and I was like, "What did you just fucking say?" I snapped, and uh, I was like, "I haven't fucking missed a squat in this building in like 8 months. You gonna talk that shit? Load it back up. I'll fucking do it right now." So we put it back on. I get it. I come out. I throw my belt. I'm screaming, "I don't need no fucking breakfast, motherfucker!" Like all this shit. And Louis is just sitting there smiling at me, right? So I come to find out, John walks up to me later in the workout and he goes, "Just so you know, dude, like we weren't talking about you. He didn't say anything about you. Your name was not like not he's like, but in that moment, he let me think that because then he got the most out of me. And it's just
Yeah.
people say master manipulator. I'd say more of like a master motivator. And it's the same
Yeah.
shit. You know what I mean? Like however you want to view.
But it's a more positive
Yeah, I don't want
connotation,
to say
right?
master
Yeah.
manipulator. I don't think that's fair. So, but yeah, so things started to kind of unravel. I felt like I felt like I I had moved the board. I had already taken Greg off the board. And I just felt like I deserved more respect in there. And that's my fault. You never get respect in there. There is no respect. It's never enough. Doesn't fucking matter, right? It's never enough, and that's why the gym is what it is. That's why it was what it was. So I had a moment with
Mhm.
Lou. He's giving me shit about my squat training. He's busting my balls about my squat training. And I said, Lou, I took who you say is the strongest person to ever come in the door off the board with my squat. Talk about Panora. And he goes, well, yeah, let's see if you could change it again now that there's a decent number up there. And it made my brain go inside out because I'm like, so you just gave me a compliment and shit on me at the same time. Dude, it
Incredible.
was,
That's an
I
incredible
was like,
sentence.
what the fuck? So, we'd get into it about that and about some of the training, and my bench wasn't going great. And, um, I really, people can look back and look at who I'm talking about, but someone started training there part time. And it just felt like he was a fucking hired assassin to take my name off the board. It
Mm.
just felt like I had been so fucking hurt, bro. Like my pelvic floor injury was so fucked. I did squat for 8 weeks and came back. My first day back, I squatted 900 on the cambered bar. Like all I did was drag a sled and narrow conventional deadlift. Like I was in pain like you wouldn't fucking believe. It was a 6 or 7 out of 10, anything from 600 up. And
Yeah.
I mean, I did nationals. I was so fucked up doing nationals that I had a hard time like putting my own underwear on. And because I was hurt, Lou didn't want anything to do. That's pretty well documented. Like if you're hurt, he just
Mhm.
doesn't care about you. You can't, it's what have you done for me lately, right? And I love that about him, dude. It's awesome, but
Yeah.
it sucks when you're the guy, right? Eh,
Well, I mean, I do think it's worth noting that I feel like because of the kind of interpersonal nature of a lot of like powerlifting crew dynamics, regular sport things get taken personally. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? Yeah, like I forget who it was, but it was like Bill Belichick wouldn't remember like some random running back from 10 years ago. He's going to know who's on his roster now.
yes.
And there's like a similar thing that needs to be said about powerlifting gyms, powerlifting crews. If you want to be taken seriously as an athlete, that's part of what you're dealing with, right? Like it's not always this like friendly
No, and
thing.
if you're the guy who's always on the PT table, it's fucking obnoxious to the owner because he's put a bunch of
Yeah,
time.
and you're not going to
Yeah,
be the
and it is
favorite.
what it is, right? It's a battle of attrition, right? So, I mean, I was so fucked up at that nationals, dude. I was so hurt. Um, and you know, to go over to Louis in the warm up room and say, "What's up, Lou? How you doing?" and him just go, hmm. And it's like, man, like I, I've you didn't make me do this, but I flipped my whole life upside down to come out here. Like I
Mhm.
just, it was upsetting. And I was like, okay. So I got all my shit figured out and I squatted 1075 at 242 and I moved the board again in an APF meet, which he was pissed about anyway because he didn't want me to do an APF meet. Um, and I buried that motherfucker. That is a good squat. It's one of my favorite squats I've ever done. So he brings in this guy, part time from your neck of the woods, and I just felt like he was a hired assassin, and it pissed me off because you're there part time, motherfucker. You're there Saturday. You're there Friday and Saturday. So you're there to squat and then do basically a bodybuilding workout on Saturday. Like you don't have to put up with this all the time, you motherfucker. Like you know what I've been through to fucking, you know what I mean? Like I've been hurt, I've been fucked up. I'm still in here every day. Like you don't have to put up with half of the shit I have to fucking put up with. And so I really
Mhm.
resented this guy by no fault of his own. I mean, he was kind of an asshole, but like whatever, you know what I mean? Like I would be an asshole too. He's a stud lifter. So um, he comes in, I start training. Man, dude, it's like I'm anxious telling this. I'm okay to talk about this. It's weird to talk about. Uh, it
It happened.
happens.
It
So
really happened.
so I feel like I feel undermined and disrespected that there's a guy in there that's there 2 days a week that's got the potential to take my name off the board. I fucking hated that. It was pissing me off. My bench wasn't going anywhere. I reached out to Dave. I'd love to please teach me how to bench press. Now, Dave, what people don't really realize a lot of times is like Dave didn't really train under Louis much. Dave was in the evening. Like obviously he trained under
Mhm.
Lou, but like it's almost two different gyms, morning and night. It's like there's different chiefs in the tribe, and
Yeah.
which is also pretty well documented. I'm not saying anything that isn't out there, but um, he. So I asked him, and he's like, yeah, because obviously Dave wants to bring somebody in from. There's nothing more that the night crew loves more than taking someone from the morning, bringing them into the night, and making them better than they were in the morning. That's
Oh, and I'm sure vice versa
oh,
too. I'm
buddy,
sure everyone loved that.
buddy,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was like a huge fucking thing, and AJ talks about it in the documentary. It's like if you trained at night, Lou took it as you not wanting to train with him, and he took that
Yeah.
personally, right? So I'm like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to? I'm not going to ask him to train at night. I'm a grown ass man. I don't need fucking permission, but I also like kind of do need permission. It's not my fucking gym, so I would go.
That's a
It's
fun spot to
so
be
yeah.
in
I'm like, oh,
mentally. I'm a grown ass man. I don't need his permission,
like,
but I kind of
please,
do.
sir. So I was like, how am I going to do this? So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just go in on Wednesday mornings. I'm gonna hand out to everyone, and I'm gonna make myself look busy. And then I'm gonna go in at night and I'm gonna bench with Dave because I had been going in the evenings for extra workouts with this kid Travis. We'd go in every night and do extra workouts. So I kind of had
Mhm.
built a rapport with like Joe Jester and Matt Smith and Hoff here and there, his girlfriend and a couple of the guys that were training with him, Kovac and his brother and all this stuff. So I had become friendly with them. So what I would do is I would go in Wednesday morning and I would just like pick a movement that there's no way Louis would know what I should get on it. So like I remember one time I did like football bar, closest grip, foreboard. Like, what is that? Who knows? And I remember I took out 4 plates and intentionally dumped it forward onto the board, missed it. It was like, oh, I don't know. And then just like every time he would look at me, I would like act like I was out of breath. I go to the bathroom a lot, whatever. And then I would go in at night and I would train and I was learning how to do that, right? And so Lou said or Dave was like, you should free squat with us. I want you to free squat with us. I said, okay, Friday's going to be tough, right? So Monday or Wednesday, I go up to Lou and I'm like, hey, this Friday, I can come in and help run the rack, but I got a dentist appointment. So I got to get out of here early. I'm just going to come in at night and do whatever they're doing. Now, I want to be very clear. Is this the right way to handle this? Probably not. But I didn't know what the fuck to do, right? There's no playbook for this shit.
Yeah.
So, and Lou looks at me and goes, dentist appointment, huh? Because he knows. He knows I'm full of shit. So, so I go in. The dude who had been the hired assassin was asked me if we needed help spotting that night. I said, hey, yeah, sure, you should come in. Comes in, spots for 2 sets, leaves, which fucking pissed me off. We don't need you for 2 plates, motherfucker. We need you for the big ones. So that pissed me off. So we squat. I talk an unbelievable amount of shit Saturday morning when we're all benching to this guy. Then I get a call from the GM over there, and he says, like, hey, Lou says if you train at night again, you're kicked out. I said, fuck. Okay. So I go early to Bob Evans one morning, and I walk over to him, and I said, hey, we're having a fucking problem, you and me. You and me, we're obviously having an issue here. Yeah,
Some
and he goes,
static,
oh,
yeah.
no. And I go, listen, I heard that you said that if I train at night again, I get kicked out. And he goes, I didn't say that. I had a dream I said that. I go, all right, well, just want to let you know, I don't mean any disrespect. I was just trying to learn from Dave. Like, I don't mean any, I'll come in. I'll come in the mornings. Fine. So I start coming back in the mornings. Dave is kind of programming for me, and I was still going in at night because I didn't want Dave's big problem was that people would take from him and not give back. They would just
Yeah, and you
want to
didn't
do
want to
that.
do that.
So I told him, I said, listen, I'm in deep shit with Lou. I'm still going to come in and load plates every night. So I was in there fucking 3 nights a week, loading plates and spotting for those dudes. Because I wanted to show them that I was appreciative of what he was doing for me. So he's programming for me. Dave actually trained in the morning for like 1 week during that.
I feel like I
He
heard that
hated it.
somewhere.
He
I don't know
fucking
where,
he
but
fucking hated
yeah.
it. And so, and you know, so there were a couple of that dude tried to take my squat off the board. He dumped it over his head. So there were a few moments of like me just like running my mouth, whatever. And so here and there, like try to, me yelling, trying to keep that bar on your back. Cause Lou loved this guy. This guy jacked. Lou likes like big, jacked motherfuckers, right? And this dude's pretty
Mhm.
muscular. So he'd be off to the side with him. And, I would just talk shit from, across the gym or whatever. And Lou likes that stuff. He liked that stuff. He liked the banter. That's part of the thing, right? He liked
Yeah.
that. So me saying, "Hey, you got something to fucking say, old man?" Like, and him getting back and fuck you and all this, and he liked that. But the guy did not like that. So when it came to a head, was Louis was really obsessed with deficits at the time. He there was a moment where a bunch of Russians like broke a bunch of deadlift world records in like one meet, and
Mhm.
some fucking idiot at breakfast just brought it up and just would stop talking about it. And you just look at Lou, and Lou is just fucking pissed. He's just mad, dude. He's mad because there were no huge deadlifters in the gym really at the time. I mean, a couple eights here and there, but nothing crazy, right? So he's mad. So all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's deficits. Now it's fucking 4-inch deficits for reps. Like all of a sudden we're pulling straight weight reps with the 4-inch deficit, sumo and conventional and all that shit. And it's just like so much. I've got a pelvic floor issue. Like I'm not trying to do this. So I had been doing rack pulls and I was feeling pretty good doing that, whatever. So he comes over to me and he's like, hey, why don't you come over here and train with so and so, the guy that he brought in? I said, nah, man, like, I'm doing rack pulls. And he's just like, some people, they just don't want to fucking train with people who are stronger than them. Lou says this to me. So I start getting elevated and said something along the lines of like, "You just fucking told me I couldn't train with Dave Hoff, who's the strongest motherfucker in here. Like, what are you talking about?" So we start going at it, and I said something, and I remember we're yelling, and I don't remember exactly what we said, but then I tried to like bring it back down. Like I was like, "Hey," I was like, "You know what, dude? Hey, listen, no disrespect. I just want to keep doing what I've been doing." And for some reason, dude, that pissed him off. He got fucking steamed. He was like, "Oh, you want to keep doing what you're doing, huh?" And dude, just us like yelling, like feel like uh, it's like 3 a.m. blackout shit face screaming with your girlfriend fight yelling, like just yelling. I don't remember what the fuck we were
Jeez.
saying. We're just on the deadlift platform screaming. So we separate, I pull a deadlift, go outside, puke, come back in, work out, whatever. And I'm just frustrated, dude. Like I just fucking had enough, you know? And I I went to a meet that weekend. That was my that was the last time I trained in the morning. Was that workout, I believe. Um
So
so that
you want to address the elephant in the room then?
yeah, I mean I guess we probably should.
Yeah. So why'd you get kicked out of Westside the first time?
Well, uh so I I go down to this meet that Saturday and they're all there. Lou wanted nothing to do with me.
Were you
No, I
competing
was
or were
just
you just
there
there?
helping.
Oh, okay.
Lou wanted nothing to do with me. Um, and I didn't want anything to fucking do with him. Fuck him. I was mad. I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, fine. So I go down there, and that night I just lost it, dude. I texted Dave and was like, listen, man, like I'm gonna leave the gym. I'm done with this, dude. Like, you got to understand, man. Uh, like we're in Columbus. Val is training at Sweatshop. It's 84 miles away. She's driving an hour and a half each way. And I'm fucking chewing my tongue in my sleep, fucking waking up feeling like I'm going to puke every morning, white knuckles on the steering. I'm fucking so mad because, you know, like when you're on Lou's shit list, you're also on everyone else's shit list. No one is going to say, "Hey, Lou, give him a break." You know what I mean? Like, and no one wants.
Because no one else wants to be on a shit list by
Correct.
associating with you.
So
Yeah.
you've got guys in there that have stayed in my fucking parents' house that will barely talk to me. So I just felt like on this island and I hated it. And I didn't come out here for that. And my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time. She's sitting there and I feel bad for her because she's sitting here watching me lose my fucking mind every day, just lose my fucking mind. I would start, dude. We didn't go, we had to be back in the house on Sundays by like noon, the latest, because I had to get ready to squat on Monday. Like it was psycho time all the time. Cause I'm like, if you're gonna fucking treat me like this, I'm gonna make sure that I'm the baddest motherfucker in here. Like that was my thing, right? So I texted Dave. I said, dude, I appreciate everything you've ever done for me. And I gotta bow out of this. And I was like, if you don't want to be friends with me anymore, I get it. If you don't respect me anymore, I get it. But I have to do what's best for my mental health. Like this is crazy, dude. I came out here to get better at lifting weights. I did not come out here to deal with like this nonsense. Like
Yeah.
and which I mean, like I should have known better anyway. Um, and whatever. And I probably could have addressed some of the stuff with the guys in the gym in a better way. I want to be pretty clear about that too. Like I was not perfect. You know what I mean? Like during that
Mhm.
whole thing when it was weird, I stopped going to breakfast. I started dragging a sled before we started. So Lou couldn't get mad at me for not going to breakfast because I was dragging the sled. He loves sleds. So what is he going to say? So I kind of just like did stuff like that where you're going to fuck with me. I'm going to fuck with you back. And then 7 o'clock, dude, I would set up whatever I was doing, set it up, have it set up. And at 7:01, I'd start fucking doing whatever we're doing. Right. And if the guys weren't there for breakfast, I would just start talking shit. Be like, oh, we're starting at 7:15 now, I see. Right? Just losing my mind, right? Just doing stuff to make myself mad. Like, I didn't need to do that.
A lot of
But I mean,
instigating.
like, I felt disrespected, dude. I felt like I needed to, and
Yeah.
you control what you can control, right? So,
Mhm.
so I go to that meet. I send the message to Dave, and I'm just like, I'm so grateful. And he was like, dude, if you leave, he wins. You have to understand that. He's like, if you leave, he fucking wins. Do not give him the win. And I said to him, like, dude, I can't. Like, I'm not here to play. He goes, here, listen. He goes, come and train at night with me. Tell Lou you've got a job, in like a job situation. He can't get mad at you for having a job. He can't kick you out for having a job, right? So I said, fuck it. Like, all right. So I go in Monday morning, went in early to Bob's again, walked up to his truck, and I said, hey, man, how you doing? He said, good. I said, hey, listen, I've got a job situation that came up. And he cut me off and he goes, nope. He goes, if you don't train in the morning, you don't train here anymore. I already had my key off my key ring, handed it to him. Said, here you go, buddy. Which you could tell he was kind of shocked by it. And I said to him, I said, hey, man, I just want to let you know, I appreciate everything you've done for me. If you ever need anything, I'm more than welcome. I'm more than happy to help. I've enjoyed my time here, but, you know, I'm gonna see my way out. So you want to call it kicked out, you want to call it left, who knows? Gave me an ultimatum and I wasn't willing to do it, Um
Yeah.
so I go home. Val's getting ready to go to sweatshop. We had actually had a friend come out that I coached. They were both getting ready to go to sweatshop. Walk in the door, handed said it's done. Val immediately starts crying because there's just this weight lifted off of her, right?
Mhm.
And we drove down to sweatshop that day, and I started training sweatshop full time. We were maybe 2 months later. We moved down there,
You moved down to
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati
Yep, to
to
train at
train
sweatshop,
at sweatshop full time?
and yeah, we were there full time anyway. Like, yeah, I was
Oh,
driving.
yeah, yeah.
We were driving, and me, I'm like such a like. I'm like, this is brutal, fuck. And she's like, I've been doing this for 2 fucking years, dude. Uh, so we do that. I go down there, and I had actually reached out to Laura, and was like, hey, it's not going great here. If for some reason things fall through, am I welcome at your gym? And she said, of course. Um, yeah.
That's cool.
And Laura was amazing. Laura was absolutely amazing. So basically, we get down there, and hey, listen, dude, like, I was getting programmed by Dave and getting hands-on coaching from Laura. Like, what I mean, fucking hey, dude.
What
You've
more
got
could you
you've
want,
got
right?
you've got the guy who basically set up the system that I run now, right? And you've got one
Mhm.
of the most technically proficient lifters to ever walk the face of the fucking planet, hands-on coaching you. Like, this is
Flat out in general, you've got like one of the greatest male lifters of all time programming for you, and one of the greatest female lifters of all time watching your
correct.
every
And
move.
so
Like
pretty
unreal.
sick, right? Now, uh, when I first got down there, so now we're in sweatshop times. It took us an
Yeah,
hour and
let's
13 minutes to get to sweatshop. Uh,
well, hey
there's
man,
a
it's
lot of
there's a
shit,
lot of
dude.
like good details in there, and I think dude, I'm telling you, I'm like listening to this stuff, and I'm just like, someone definitely asked this on a Q&A on Trigger Warning Conjugate four and a
Oh,
half
dude.
years ago.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And you just didn't
yeah.
address it.
It was always just like, none of your business, motherfucker.
Yeah, I've made this joke to you a few times that like when you used to do the Q&As more frequently, like early in it'd be like, how often does so and so do good mornings at Westside? And you'd be like, hey, I'm not at Westside anymore, haven't been for a few years. I don't know, ask someone there. And then by the end, like four more people would ask a question about Westside, and you'd just be like, I'm not at Westside anymore, and that would be the end of it. Like, you just get angrier and angrier as the Q&A
Well,
went on.
so obviously during that time, there's like so much interpersonal stuff going on that like I didn't want to like air anybody's shit out, right? Like I didn't want people to
Yeah.
know that Dave was helping me. Like I didn't want to know. But here's the thing, like
You didn't wanna invite those
yeah, all
problems.
all all this, dude. People give me shit about like praising Dave so much and riding his nuts or whatever. But it's like, dude, like that motherfucker like put his neck out for me. That guy. Now knowing Dave, he came
Yeah.
down like what was it like 3 weeks after I got kicked out, like and squatted at the sweatshop with us. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
That is
I don't know if anybody
insane.
remembers that shit. There's a video. You can see it. He posted it. The whole fucking night crew came in and squatted on a Saturday morning with me at sweatshop. That like the gravity of that is fucking insane, dude. Like
I mean, if you think just the last hour, what we talked about, and then consider that they all came out to be with you after all of
crazy,
that.
crazy, dude,
Unreal.
right? So like, yeah, dude, like have me and Dave had our fucking differences for sure. Absolutely. Have we gotten in arguments? Fuck yeah, we have. But like, dude, that's why I'll always be loyal to that guy. Cause he had been there for
Mhm.
fucking 15 years and he stuck his neck out for me. And then invited and ended up
Yeah,
getting me invited back. We'll talk about that later. But you got to think
definitely,
about
yeah.
that. Like it's just the weight of that, the gravity of him on us. And now knowing Dave, like, bro, to get him to train on a different day and in the morning, it's like a lot, right? Uh,
And
and
an
an
hour and a
hour and a
half
half
away.
away, like, dude,
Yeah.
crazy. So that was actually the first time I squatted 1100. Was that morning?
Sick.
Um,
Sick.
smashed it.
Um,
Of course.
Anywho, so we're we're at
Yes,
Sweatshop
yeah. Keep me
now.
on the rails.
Who's there?
So
Who's there? What's
yeah,
going on? Like, so obviously we know Dave coaching you, Laura watching you. What's the people element? Like, what's some of
yeah,
that stuff?
so Shane Sweat actually pulled me aside when I first got there, and he was like, "Listen, we haven't really put out many huge, you know, male lifters out of here. And a lot of the guys here at the time, it was before some of them had hit their stride. So he's like, a lot of the guys here, like, will get excited if they beat one of the girls on a movement. And that's just like kind of unacceptable. So, like, having like a bulldog yourself in
Yeah.
here is going to be helpful. So, what I've found in my life is, everybody loves the friend who will call the other friends out on some shit. Like, what are you doing, you fucking pussy? Like, everybody loves that until they're calling you out. So
Yes.
it's easy to it's like, oh yeah, stay aided, middle fingers up, like no fucking compliment sandwiches until you're not getting a compliment sandwich. So I want to be really clear about this. Like Laura was amazing the whole time. She was unreal. Love Laura. Great coach, great person. Always been sweet to me. Um, Shane, we did not meld very well. Um, So, but he wanted me to, he said it. He told me, he's like, we need like more of an alpha in here, like a big dog, like whatever. And the guys over there at the time, they had followed me when I was at Westside. So I was kind of like, I don't want to say it was a big deal, but I was, like at all, but like, people knew who I was there and whatever. And
Yeah.
evenings, the main group of girls trained in the morning. So the main group of
Okay.
girls is like, Patty and Katie and Val and Andy and Heidi and those people all trained in the morning, right, with Laura, and then in the evening, there were like a couple girls that were still pretty good, and then but the guys were like, um, you know, Connor Stackhouse, Kyle Miller, Brandon Bergen. Um, Logan Zecker wasn't there at the time, but Logan, fuck, I forget his last name. Um, was there. This kid Nick was there. There's like a handful of people. Pat wasn't training there anymore, so like the biggest squatter to come out of there wasn't there anymore. Um, but I basically trained with Connor Stackhouse. We called it Team Frustrated, and Doug Race. Doug Race trained with us too. We called it Team Frustrated because we were both just like idiots, and the girls would just tell us how bad we were at squatting the whole time, and whatever. So, but I was, I was not well at that time. I don't think that I acted in a great way at Sweatshop. I think I was a little out of control. I think I had a little bit of an ego, and I had a massive chip on my shoulder. At one point, Val was like, "Hey, dude, like you got to take it easy on the West Side stuff. Like when people bring it up, you can't just say fuck that place. You can't just say like nah. You can't make fun of people for wearing the West Side shirt. Like you can't." And the way that I just it's tough
Yeah,
though, right? So
it is because you're angry, but they
they
don't
don't
know
really know
why.
why. They might know some of the story because I told some of it, but like they didn't really know, and it's really hard to understand what goes on there without being there. So yeah, so I said, I remember saying to Val, like, listen, like, imagine you're obsessed with this person and you finally start dating them and you date them for 2 years and then they break up with you in a not awesome way. And then you go to a different school and everybody at that school has a picture of that ex on their fucking t-shirt. It's impossible to not be affected by that.
Yeah, you wouldn't really be a very happy
Right.
camper now, would
So
you?
like when you look at the guys who had like explosive exits from West Side, um, you know, Greg and Chuck and all those guys, you've heard all the stories about, like the internet wasn't as big of a deal. So they just kind of got to like experience like their whole thing, like exited from it. There wasn't a spotlight. There wasn't, people didn't even know, like people didn't know Greg was kicked out until they saw him somewhere else. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was no like,
Yeah.
so I, like you kind of had to, in a sense, grieve publicly without talking about it. Like imagine your dog dies and you're grieving and everyone's kind of asking you about like why don't you have dog food anymore, and you can't really tell them, you're not allowed to tell them why, but you're still grieving and you're still going through that. And so it was a really hard time for me. And I think that some of the relationships that I had at Sweatshop were probably pretty stressed because of that. Um, and it put my wife in a hard spot too, you know, because you're not going to tell me how to act. Like I'm just going to act how I'm going to act. I've always been that way. So it was good there for a while, man. Like I really enjoyed it. It basically, at West Side, if you got 10 reps of something and they looked like shit, but you got 10 and you were supposed to get 10, put a quarter on and get 10 again, motherfucker. Right? At Sweatshop, if you're doing bent over rows and you get 10, but your background's a little bit, you take the plate off and put quarter dime on and do them right. So there's this juxtaposition when it comes to technical ability, technical stuff, and like the bulldog aspect, right? So
Yeah, that's got to be a bit of a
it,
culture
it
shock.
is, but it was what I needed. I mean,
Mhm.
the funny thing is that pelvic floor injury, a lot of people say that they're like it's stress related. Like a lot of times, like men specifically. Yeah,
Really?
dude, look it up. It's crazy, dude. Like I did some like I did some pretty crazy like manual therapy stuff. Like, no, I didn't put my finger in my ass. But like, like basically like foam rolling your grundle taint, like it terrible, just hurts so bad. And that
I believe it. Yeah, it doesn't
that
sound
definitely
fun.
helped. And Luke Edwards' wife, Devi, helped me a great deal with like dry needling my adductors and a bunch of other things. My first week at Sweatshop, the pain dissipated. The first time I had had pain-free squatting in like over a year.
That is fucking
Craziness,
wild to think about.
craziness.
Yeah.
And it kind of waved here and there, but like to see like such a stark contrast, it was crazy. So, um, man,
So let me
yeah,
ask you this. And this might be a bit of a hard hitting question, but we talk about you're at Sweatshop. A lot of your relationships are strained because I don't know if you want to call Sweatshop like a sister gym of Westside, but they're all big Westside fans. Why did you not address it publicly a little more at the time, or talk about it with those people a little more at the time to just kind of clear the air
It was
personally.
nobody's business, is what I felt like. I felt
Fair.
like it was nobody's
That's fair.
business. I felt like, some of them knew it. I mean, like I told Laura, but I'm also not I'm not a belly acher, dude. I'm not gonna walk around
Yeah.
and be like, "Oh, this happened to me." But instead, what I'll do is I'll act like a cunt to everybody and then be surprised that they don't like me. So, so I
Well,
think
yeah.
I think the time that it's taken to get all this stuff out is good because I think if I had talked about it then, it would have come off in a very terrible way. Um,
Yeah, I think it's fair to say there's a big difference between, like, 2018 Anthony and
for
2024
sure, I
Anthony.
think if you're the same person 6 years ago you are today, exactly, you're not really doing anything. You're not growing.
I
Like
agree.
I'm the
I agree with
same
that very
motherfucker.
much.
Like I'm the same dude. I've just grown up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I can look at it, it's like I wasn't mad at Louis because I wasn't mad at him because he told me I couldn't trade at night. I was mad at him because he let me leave. I was mad at him because I wasn't
Mm,
important to him. I was mad at him because I was mad at him because I mean, my dad had cancer when I left New Hampshire to fucking move to Ohio. Like I made those choices, but I felt that my level of choice or sacrifice, I don't like calling it sacrifice, but those decisions I made, I thought that would garner me some level of respect and some grace with my injuries or whatever. And it didn't, and I couldn't understand at the time that like if Louis let me slide on that shit, then he has to let everyone slide. And
yeah, and I think it's like it's not even like you felt like you were owed something, but you wanted a little more reciprocity, but it's
yeah,
like the optics of that to the rest of the gym would fuck with the culture that Louis worked so hard to build
right.
and
And he
curate.
can't be soft on somebody.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's easy for us to sit here and say this looking back,
Yeah.
but that's one of those things you only figure out in hindsight or as an outsider
The
looking
the
in.
way that the way that I describe it is it's always like relationships because people can uh they can understand that.
Yeah.
It's like you're dating this girl and she's a fucking psycho and a menace and she's flipping your life upside down. And you're like, this girl's gonna ruin my fucking life. Or you're like, you're so in love with this chick and she breaks up with you, and you're like, I'm never gonna be the same. Like, fuck. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, oh, if you drop me back into that situation, none of this would bother me. That's exactly how it
Yeah.
was. Like, as soon as you stepped out, if you were to step back in, you'd be like, well, you're just being a silly goose trying to piss me off right now. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Cause real
That hindsight is
because
2020.
realistically, dude, like Louis didn't like kicking people out, dude. He doesn't want to kick people out.
I'm sure, and especially not someone who moved
Right.
the
He
board.
doesn't want that. Like he says it in the documentary. It's like we could have fist fought. It would have meant nothing, but a world record holder walked out when Greg walked out. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
and it's the
So,
same thing. Like it's like, it wasn't a world record holder, but I mean that was a fucking eighth, seventh or eighth biggest squat ever at 242 at the time. A pretty fucking big squat. With
mhm. And I think it's something just hit me, and I think this is kind of funny. You said when you got kicked out, he was he looked like he was taken aback that you just handed him your key. And then you just said that you were pissed that you wanted him to push back a little more. It seems like both of you just wanted a little bit more care from the other, like
yeah,
expressed, but neither of you were willing to give it to
I
each
found
other.
out later down the road that it fucked him up that I was so kind about it. Like, yeah,
Really? Like
it
he wanted a fight?
bothered him. He
Yeah.
didn't know what to do with me
But he probably also wanted an opportunity to have an argument that he felt like he
or
could
say
win.
fuck you to.
But you
Like,
never Yeah, but you never gave it
right.
to him.
I can thank my parents for how I handled that situation. I definitely, they taught me to just like kind of, yes, sir, may I have another type of thing. But,
Yeah. You and I have talked about that. That's important at times, right? You just need to be like,
I am
"Mhm.
sorry.
Yes. Mhm."
Whatever. So, but yeah, so at Sweatshop, it was good, man. It was a good vibe there for a long time. We definitely like, we'd go out to eat together. All the girls there were awesome. Like going to
Mhm.
the pro am this year and seeing everybody again. When we left there were some hard feelings, but seeing everybody this year and like giving Leah Reichman a hug, giving Katie Brent a hug. Like it's just like it felt so good to see these people. Um, and obviously I've stayed close with a few, Brandon Bergen, like, we did podcasts with him and um,
Mhm.
stayed close with them. But basically, what happened there was uh I was just a little too much for that gym, I think. I felt like I had to be not censored, but like I felt like my personality had to be stifled a little bit because the guys there were a little, I don't want to say more sensitive because that sounds like I'm talking shit, but they just weren't used to the same level of like fuck youism as I
Mhm.
was used to doing. And there was a situation with like a rack pull where I was loud about a rack pull and yelled motherfucker, and Shane didn't like that because he had a personal training client there. And
That's also a really
yeah,
tough, like, when you're in a gym where there's, like, not true, like, other grizzled
right.
people,
Well,
it just creates some weird
to me
situations.
at the time, I was like, motherfucker, you want me here though, right? Like you told me that you said that you
Yeah.
wanted like to the alpha, like what is it? You know what I mean? And so um I ended up having like a small confrontation with Shane, not a yelling match or anything like that. Basically, he said, well, he's never going to listen to us. I guess it doesn't really matter, but I don't want to sit here and just talk shit. But basically, he didn't want me not doing his programming because at the time he was doing programming for the gym, and kind of
Mm,
just said like,
that's also a tough
yeah. So he
dynamic.
didn't want, yeah. It's not easy for him, I'm sure.
And that's also not that was not a huge gym, like,
No, the
space-wise.
original sweatshop,
So
yeah, like, it was small. It was probably 1,500 square feet.
so, like, if you're all the guys are squatting and you're doing something totally different than what he wants his guys doing, like, that
Well,
probably is a pain in
also
the
not
dick.
trying to be an asshole, but, like, you look at if you're an up and comer and you've got guy who's squatted close to 11 from Westside and one mono, and, Shane who's produced some good lifters but doesn't have an open powerlifting, um, who are you gonna squat with? It creates a
Yeah.
weird thing. So basically, he didn't want me doing my own programming. I said, you said this was okay in the first place, da 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 da. And, I basically said, like, I said to him, I was like, cool. Like, yeah, he didn't want me bringing people into my training group because it would take away from what he was doing. And I understand that to a point too, as a gym owner, and you want to get your cookies too, right? Like,
Mhm.
um, but I said, fine. Like, if you're gonna say that I can't pull guys from here to train with me, um, then whatever I do at this next meet, you can't put my numbers on your board. And I totaled 2,500. So so
Shit would have looked
it would have
real
looked
pretty on
nice.
that board.
So
So, yeah, let's talk about that
well
2,900.
hold
Is
on. So it was 2,500. Don't
Oh,
misspeak to
okay.
29. I wish it was 29. I thought you
No,
said
I did I say 29? I
I
thought I
was
said
like, motherfucker, I
2,500.
wish it was 29.
That might have just been the, I don't know, like, some pitch in my voice there, but I pretty sure I said 25.
So basically we were there. And I don't, it's not my place to tell Val's story. But
Yeah.
Val was at a point in her career where she wanted to fucking go. Like she's like, I'm ready. I want huge weights. I want fucking, and some of the girls there were on kind of the tail end of their career and some of them wanted to lose some weight. And there was like, just like, they were all still killers, but like Val was like, Val would say things like, you know, if I got a mustache and a goatee, but I squatted 800, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she was in that mode where it was like, anything for the bigger weights.
Yeah, and then it's really hard to relate to people who aren't in that
Correct.
mode, especially in the
Correct. And
gym.
there were some and whatever. And so, Dave invited me up to free squat at Westside. And I was just like, man, like,
When
so
was this?
we were at Sweatshop for 10 months. So this was probably month 9.
Okay.
Um, and so I was like, man, like, how's that going to be with Louis? And he's like, I'll take care of it. I said, okay. So I go up there and I squat, had a great squat session, come back. He sends me a message the next day, I believe, and he's like, uh, you are invited back. And I'm like, oh, like to squat on Fridays? Cool, man. Like, that's great. And he's like, nope. Like, you and Val are invited to be full time Westside Barbell members. And I was like, holy shit. And so he said that basically he said to Louis, like, I need Anthony as a training partner. He's still capable of like big things, whatever. I guess Lou said something to the effect of like, he's not going to listen to you. And Dave said, he's my problem. He will be my problem. He will not be your problem. His wife is a killer. She's coming too. Package deal. I said, okay. So I didn't have to tell anybody at Sweatshop because I didn't have any like deep relationships really. Val had to do
Yeah.
the thing where she told her training partners. They were pretty upset, obviously. And that part of the story I'm not going to get into because it's not my story to tell. But all of those bridges have been mended and everything's good. But it obviously creates some tension, right? Um,
Yeah,
Especially since like
definitely.
Heidi Hauer had left Sweatshop to go to Westside to train in the mornings. So there was like this weird thing. Um,
It's like his
and,
Westside
and,
scalping
and,
sweat
and we
shoplifters,
were
like
not particularly good with Heidi at the time. It was just lots of stuff. And that's just, that side of the story is just sort of inconsequential to mine. Um, so,
mhm.
so yeah, so we would drive up, um, for the 3 days a week. And then we did our just like rep day, uh, at, like a commercial gym. I actually was like still training occasionally at Sweatshop when I did the 2500 at nationals. I trained, I think it was like 3 days a week at Westside, and then I would do speed bench and Sweatshop. I forget what it was exactly. But like, I mean, it was good enough that like, Connor Stackhouse helped handle me at that meet.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, so you still
we
had,
were still like
like,
some ties.
some of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
connections, yeah.
But
So that meet, when was that meet? Was that, sorry, I swear to God, I'm not like some crazy meat rider, but I have some notes up here that you
yeah,
sent me. That was April 27th, 2019,
was
right?
the
Squat at
no,
1100. That's not the
that was
2500.
the meet that I did when
Oh,
I did
okay.
that meet. Oh man, yeah. I guess we should talk about that. I
Yeah, because you have this here that you wanted to
Yeah,
bring it up.
so,
So
when I was at Sweatshop, so first meet with Sweatshop was WPO the first year. Yes.
2019
Everyone
or
2018.
2018, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because 2019
Yes,
was ESPN.
2018.
Yes,
Everyone
2018.
from Westside bombed except for Dave, and I think one of the girls. And it was my first meet without Westside. So that was pretty validating. My best total was 2360. I totaled 2364. And Louis had told me that you will never total more than 2360. So this was, yeah, so we got to backtrack. So I was at Sweatshop when this happened. So like something that I'll never forget also is Joe Bayless that whole day helped me through that meet. And he didn't have to do that. Um, in a West Side shirt, man. Help me. You can see him on the side of the deadlift video yelling, helping me. He said to me, I pulled a deadlift PR on a second. It didn't PR my total. I had to pull a third deadlift to PR my total, and it was a secondary PR for my deadlift. And he looks at me and
Hmm.
he's like, well, now you're going to figure it out because now you're going to know if you can pull 3 deadlifts when you have to win. And that is so funny because in my first meet at Westside, he looked at me during deadlift warmups and he goes, you know what would help your deadlift be better? And I go, what? And he goes, pretending like you gave a fuck about your deadlift. And then
Those
And then I
chirps are
thought of
great.
all that stuff when I had to pull the 771 to win nationals and total 2,500. So like Joe has had some like crucial moments with me. And actually at that WPO, I was down 0-2 on squats, and so was the hired assassin. And we were opening with very similar weights. So he was going after me. So I literally was getting my knees wrapped, and he's sitting across from me looking at each other. And he gives me this like scowled look, and it just hit me. I just started laughing. I was like, I haven't thought about you all fucking day, dude. I'm just worried about my squat, and you're giving me a dirty look. Fuck this. So I went out, got the squat. He bombed, um, which felt good. Whatever. The
I'm
dude's
sure
got a
that felt
dude's still got a
incredible.
bigger total than me, but that moment was great. Um, and so Dave standing by me at that meet meant a lot to me. And then I did a
Mm,
meet at um in Newark, Ohio. That was the first one I squatted 11 at, and I was
okay.
with Sweatshop. So that the meet that Dave benched 1,005 and yells like "death kill motherfucker" at the camera,
Iconic
iconic,
video.
so good, dude.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've seen him stutter step around someone after a lift and not push him because it was because it was Laura. He got off the bench. He
Oh
got off the
my
bench and
god.
started going, and then like he just saw her and just like moved to the side. It was it was like
It's a
it
primal
was crazy.
reflex
It was
somewhere
crazy. I
deep
was like,
down.
no, like don't. So but he was with me at that meet, and he walked. I was like, man, this is gonna be awkward. Like there's a bunch of West Side dudes doing it. Louis was there. I knew that Louis loved walking up to guys that he had kicked out and talking to them. He loved that. I watched him do it a bunch of times. So I said, fuck this. And I walked up to him. I was just like, what's up, man? I go, because they had already, they were talking about the WPO ESPN thing. And I walked, I was like, you got any guys doing WPO? Because I knew none of them were. And just like, I like kind of like
Oof.
got to him before he could get to me. So I proceeded to out squat I almost squatted 1147 at that meet. I took it on a
Damn.
third, yeah, or 1140 or whatever it was. Um, he, we I out squatted all the West Side guys that were there. And when Dave walked in, he came over and sat with me, and he had his bag with my bag. And that just meant so much to me. Because I was training at Sweatshop at the time. And so yeah, it was really uh really an awesome moment. And you can see me like I come out, and in the video I squat the 11, come out, and like first guy to hug me is Dave, in a West Side shirt, and I had been kicked out. Like it's just people who aren't I mean, I guess people who are listening to this probably would understand the gravity of that.
That's
It
very
was
significant.
huge. And it just meant that like no one would ever say something negative about that guy to me ever without me being like, fuck you. So yeah, squat 11. I ended up bombing on bench at that meet. Um
That's the isn't that the you totaled 2,500 in your heart
2400.
story?
Yeah. So he made me
2,400. Oh,
pull a
yeah.
deadlift after. I was like, man, I don't want to fucking deadlift.
Who
Like, I don't
does?
wanna. And that was the second meet where I'd seen all those guys that I'd been friendly with. And I actually talked to Dave Tate at that meet about how hard it is when you get booted, and the guys in the gym, they treat you different, and all this stuff. But yeah, he made me deadlift, and so he's like, well, you basically benched that six whatever, so you know you totaled 2,400
Let's just see
in
what's
our heart or
possible. Yeah.
whatever. And then ended up, the 2,500 I did, however many months later, to qualify for WPO at on ESPN. But yeah, so fast forward, we got invited back, we moved back, um, and started training at Westside again.
And you got confronted by some people.
I did. So I wanted to talk to Lou, like, but I wasn't going to go chase him down. And he didn't come in at night very much. So we're probably week 2 of me there. And fucking Matt Smith walks up to me and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm fucking training. What are you doing here?" And he's like, "You can't just come in here and train. Like you have to talk to Lou and you have to make sure it's okay." I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it. I was just like, well, if Lou wants to talk to me, he knows what time I fucking train, and I'm not avoiding anybody. So I'll talk to whoever, but I don't have to fucking clear this with you. That's for damn sure. I fucking got invited back from Dave through Louis, or like from Lou through Dave. Like, you're not gonna fucking tell me anything. Um, since then, me and Matt have a fine relationship, but I wasn't gonna get bullied. You got me fucked up. Like, hell no, dude. I already moved all my shit back
Yeah.
to Columbus. So, so yeah, I was hanging out in the office, and the GM over there kind of gave me a heads up. Like, Lou had heard some stuff about me that he was gonna want to address. Lou comes in. I walked over to him. I said, "Hey, man, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come back here. I really, it means the world to me to be here. And, I feel like I've got some really good numbers in me still." And he says, "I heard you've been talking shit about the club." And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, "I heard you said stuff on the internet." And I was just like, "No, no, man. Like, I haven't." And like, you can attest to it, bro. Like, like, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah, and especially we just had that conversation about the sweatshop stuff. It's like, well, why didn't you address it? And you're like, well, it's anyone's fucking business. But in that statement, it's like you didn't say anything.
Yeah,
And I
he said that
think,
he heard that I said something on the
yeah,
internet, and I was like, "Well, Lou, like, just so we're clear, I did not do that. I will not do that. I'm here for the club, and I'm here to lift weights, and I just want to thank you for having me." We shook hands, and he walked out.
that was some psychological warfare. That's what
Yeah,
that was.
yeah. He wanted me to flip out so he could tell me to fuck off. And it wasn't gonna happen, dude. Like, I was so excited to have the opportunity.
Hmm.
So we're training there, and there's tension, dude. Like, you could feel it. You could feel it. The morning crew, the night crew, you could just like, it was just like in the fucking air, dude. It was just in the air. And Dave, you could tell Dave was getting ready to do something fucking crazy. Like, we're getting ready for that ESPN dude. Like, just the shit that I saw that fucking guy do, jumping from 3 plates and chains to 7 plates and chains in the fucking Cambridge bar and just blasting a triple. Like, just like, the shit I would see him do was just like insane. I think I saw him do like 5 1/4 plus a doubled purple band to a 2 board, like raw, like just like stupid shit. That's just like so strong. Like, and I'm sitting there like, what in the motherfuck? Because this was like the first prep I had been around for with him.
Yeah, and there's definitely a difference between like when you were just like popping into
Yeah.
bench at night and loading plates versus being in the
Well, a
thick
lot of
of it.
those nights too, on the Wednesdays, like, if he's not in prep, like, he's just going to take a couple of moderate doubles, which you're like, wow, that's crazy. He just did 5 plates for a double off of that board. But like, that's not shit compared to what you'll see him do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when
When
he's
he's
like
going.
pushing,
Yeah.
pushing.
So,
Yeah.
he did like there was some shit with like, there would be like these little like sly little remarks from morning crew people on the internet. And, we leaned into the group. We leaned into it. We were galvanized. We were, looking out for each other. It was a great group. It was me, Val, Hoff, Kovac, Kellen, Jamie McDowell, Jeff McDowell, Logan Zecker, and then Ernie, Hoff's brother. I think that's it. It was just fun, man. Oh, DB. Dave's friend DB. And then, you know, obviously like Joe Jester was in there and he would kind of he didn't get after it in the same way, but like Jason Fry would come in every so often and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Um Man, it's so, dude, it's so, lining up to tell this. I'm sure the like how Night Crew got kicked out thing is like lore.
Well, dude, before you say that, because I think, first of all, this is probably like everyone's just been like waiting to hear this part of it, and I'm just gonna blue ball it a little bit more. But there were two stories that I always heard because I've told you this. Like, I have sat around with some friends for hours and talked about what the fuck did they possibly do to get kicked. Because once, like, I don't know what because like you guys left and no one really knew why. And then someone at some point said that you were kicked out, but no one said how you get kicked out. And we were just like, what could have possibly happened? Because it just kind of felt like in the age of social media, it would have gotten out, but none of you let it out. So the two theories that I always heard, and it was always like some grand story of like someone knew a guy who had a cousin who
Fucking
their
yeah,
dog
Goldfish's
groomer
former
was
owner.
a guy who knew Louis. Like, it was always some like serendipitous relationship with someone who hadn't associated with Westside. And it was like, and they told me this. And there were two stories. The one was that Alex Kovac had a dog that kept shitting in Westside and he wouldn't clean it up. And Louis got pissed off and kicked all of you out. And the
Absolutely
other
not
was that,
true.
yeah. The other was that uh, one of you in the night crew wore a pair of Titan briefs and Louis freaked the fuck out because he thought it would kill the gym's relationship with Inzer and kicked all of you out.
Not absolutely untrue. So there's some truth to that. There's some truth
Yeah.
to the second.
Debunk that and then let's get into it about why
Yeah,
you guys
so
actually got kicked out.
so I the order is a little weird, but there was some tension, right? And let me see here. Was the argument before? So we did that, and then yeah. Um yes. Okay. So Louis doesn't fly, right? And Louis wasn't going to go to Chicago to the ESPN WPO thing. He had made it very clear. He was
Mhm.
not interested because it wasn't the same as the old WPO and it was affiliated with the APF and whatever, right? So Dave did, I believe it was either 575 or 585 for a triple on a floor press, which is just like mind
Ridiculous.
melting. Dude, he did it. He racks it and he goes, never done that before. I'm like, holy fucking shit. So in 1 week, I saw him do that, and I saw him take, I think it was 1280, and blast it squatting. Like, you know, and this was before he had done the 1278. So that was like, it was like, holy shit, like
That was big.
he's gonna squat the world record, dude. Like he's gonna do it, you know?
Mhm.
And so we were in there on a Sunday, getting ready to fucking train. Stan Efferding was there. Dude, I know people, dude,
Random.
like when I think about the ridiculousness of it, like people are going to hear that and be like, does that have anything to do with it? It's like, no, just a bystander. Um,
Yeah, but like, what
so,
the
he,
fuck?
so he was in there and, you know, just so it's clear, like, you know, I spoke with Hoff earlier this week and, you know, he's cool with me telling stories and all this. So I'm not like airing anybody's dirty laundry. And it
Again, it
fucking happened. I
happened.
was standing right there. So, so he did that. So Lou was in there with Stan Efferding, like showing him stuff. It was weird that Louis was there on a Sunday anyway, but he was showing him
Mhm.
stuff and whatever. And we kind of had this feeling of like, well, you're either fucking with us or against us. So I don't fucking know if Stan Efferding is for the night crew or the morning crew, but fuck you. I'm not saying hello to you. I like, this is just, we're here to fucking lift weights with our friends here that we love, and everything else can fuck off, right? And Dave walked up to Lou and said, hey, I'm going to give you a reason to go to Chicago in October or whatever the date was. And he had the floor press triple pulled up. And Lou's like, I'm not going to that. And dude, that happened. And me and Kovac were standing there. We just kind of like took 2 steps back. We're like, this is not a conversation For us,
You just felt
goodbye.
it.
Like I wish I could get shot into outer space right now. So I could. s-
Want to be
s-
anywhere but here for
So
this
Dave starts
interaction.
going kind of bananas, and basically saying like, well, like good, fuck you type of thing, like none of your fucking morning crew guys made the cut anyway, type of shit, right? Which
Ooh,
doesn't. And I mean, now they have
shot
a
went over great.
crazy amount of heritage between the two of them. He's known Dave since he was a kid. Like, they've
Yeah.
probably been in more fuck you matches before this. Like who, so they're going at it, and Dave like started to like walk away, kind of give him the like, all right, buddy, like whatever, like waving his hands at him, and Lou actually, to his credit, approached Dave again and just basically, I didn't hear this, but from what Dave has told me, basically said like, listen, like I want the best for you. And, I don't mean it. And Dave said, listen, I want to bring home the biggest fucking total in the world for you. Like, I want to, like, and they kind of mended it
Hmm.
there. Okay. So that happened. Now I'm just edging everyone right now. So,
Well, I mean, nobody's even heard that before, I don't think. So I'm sure that just rocked a lot of people's
that
worlds.
was a pretty crazy, dude. Me and Kovac were standing there with our bags in our hands, being like, if he walks out, we're walking with him. Like literally, Kovac came over to me.
Yeah, that's
He
one
had
of
his
those
bag. He
moments.
stands next to me. I pick up my bag. He's like, if he walks, we're walking, right? And I was like, you're fucking right, dude. I'm going where Dave's going. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Dave has shown me extreme fucking loyalty and kindness. Like, I'm going wherever he's going. So that happened. And then I don't know how long it was after that. I could figure it out because I have the floor press video on my phone. And no, I will not post it. So do not ask. And I will not send it either. I have a ton of, dude. I have a ton of footage of Dave training. Whenever he ends up being done powerlifting, I don't know when that will be, but whenever that is, I'm going to send him just like a Google file of like all of the training footage I have of him, because
And just be like, "What
I
can
have
I share?"
so many of him that like he never asked for, that I just have, that I'm sure he would love.
Oh, so you were like the, "I'm gonna lean my phone up and let it roll, and I'll send it to you
Yes.
later." Yeah,
So
that's
I
usually
have
me. Yeah,
so much of his like crazy shit on there, which is so cool. I just like
that is cool.
refuse to like post it or send it to anyone.
Well, rightfully so, yeah. It's
So we did that. So then, okay, so there's the tension there, and then
then the
yes.
Titan
So
gear,
all right. So
right?
what happened with
Yes,
that
okay.
was, now everybody knows like my bench is I'm a bad bencher, whatever. So fine, right? So we had just finished. So I would do like weird shit because we didn't want anyone to know what we were doing for training. So like one of the days I posted a picture, like we didn't even fucking, I think we deloaded. We didn't do anything. And it was like a Wednesday. And there was like happened to be like the old safety squat bar set up into chains. And it was just like posted a picture of that, was just like, yeah, man, just trying some new stuff out, like doing some good mornings that change on a Wednesday, like or whatever. Just like, like just nonsense. Just saying shit, posting like old videos, whatever. It was always so fun. I posted like a video of me squatting from like the morning time, and it got reshared on like a gear page, and people were like, this dude just keeps getting stronger. It's like, that's from fucking 6 months ago or whatever, or a year ago at that point. So, uh,
Yeah.
so so DB shows up one night, and he had gotten 2 Titan shirts, single ply shirts from Goodwill for like $20. And he just thought they were funny, like whatever. And then we got this
Mhm.
idea that if we set up the camera, this video I will fucking post. Okay, so we set up the camera so you couldn't see the ends of the bar, but you could see that there were 6 plates on it. We were done training. We had squatted that night. It was Friday. I got flip flops on, dude. Fucking lay down on the bench, put the single ply shirt on, right? Hand out, everybody on the sides, they're off camera. They're holding the bar. And I do a triple to my chest with 6 plates. My best bench at this point was like 620. It might have been 7 plates, whatever. It was like 100 pounds over my best. And I stand up like, yeah, motherfucker, so you can see the Titan. And I posted it, and I was just like, just messing around with some single ply shit. Maybe I found my bench. And it was just in a way to like show people like just the front that my bench was crazy right then. It had nothing to do with the Titan gear. It was just that was just the shirt
Yeah,
that
it
we
was just
had.
about
That was the
fucking
shirt
around.
we
Yeah.
had. So I post it. I wake up in the morning from a text message from the GM. You got to take that fucking picture down. I have the receipts. You got to take that video down. We're going to lose our sponsorship with Inzer. I said, my bad. Took it down. Right. And then I go in, I talk to Dave. I'm like, dude, like your girlfriend deadlifts in a metal deadlift suit. Like there's literally a post from last week where she has a fucking metal deadlift suit on. It's got the huge metal. Like he's giving me shit. And Dave basically said, like, just trying to cause issues
Yeah.
in the group, you know? And so I was like, all right, fuck it, whatever. Like, and didn't think anything of it. And then maybe a week later, I don't know the time frame. It was shortly after. I should have researched through my videos to figure it out. I get a message from Dave pretty late at night, like, hey, we got kicked out. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, we got booted. We're going to train at the doghouse. I'm like, what? So he calls me. He got, I don't want to say the person's name, but he got a call or a text from somebody with a picture of a note that was printed and left on the door at Westside. Now, the note has been posted on the internet, just so everybody knows. The note has been posted on the internet by someone who was made to take it down. But there are screen caps of the note.
Mm-mm.
People have them, I guarantee you. And again, this is not shitting on Louis. This is a thing that fucking happened. And it just basically said, not basically, it said, the Westside Night Crew training time has been disbanded. The locks got changed. The reasons were differing opinions on training methodology and wearing gear that were not sponsored by. Those were the two reasons, right? Now, come to find out later, Inzer didn't even know that video existed. Just
I'm sure they didn't.
that
Yeah.
never happened. This was just a way, right? I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but like Dave still wears all Inzer shit. And there's a reason
Yeah.
for that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so do all the dudes that, trained at Westside after. Like that sponsorship went nowhere.
Yeah, it was fine.
So yeah, I mean, go look. Like, how many videos are there of like AJ with a metal fucking singlet on over an SDP? All, all,
Oh yeah, are people wearing like different brands of knee
all of them.
wraps and
Like, you know
shit?
what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so anyway, and it just said like the only times the gym is open, and it just like listed like the morning crew slots.
They actually changed
Oh
the
yeah.
locks. Damn. I was gonna say, I was wondering, like, did someone go try to like gut check them? Like, maybe this is
No,
just like
we
posturing or someone's
we
fucking with
talked
you.
about
But
and toyed with the idea of all of us showing up in the morning to train, be like, oh cool, we're not kicked out, right? We just can't train at night.
why didn't that go
We
anywhere?
were 3 or 4 weeks out from the WPO. I don't think anybody was in the mental state to be not psychotic.
Fair, fair. So why? Let me ask this: why Doghouse? Because there's a lot of gyms in Columbus.
Well,
A lot of them.
it was at one time it was owned by this dude named Tim. I forget his last name. Tim. Fuck. Oh, I'm so pissed. I can't remember his last name. He was like a part-time West Side guy. Been around forever. And
Okay.
then it was owned by Jimmy Harris, and Jimmy's like the nicest guy ever. Great dude, and basically like gave us like kind of free reign of the gym.
That's
Like
pretty cool, and that is
yeah,
important.
and obviously we paid membership there, like,
Hmm.
but we all showed up. And some of the guys didn't know yet, just they had been working and stuff, and people were upset. We were all upset, but dude, in that moment it galvanizes you, right? It's like whatever we can fucking do, dude. Like now is the time, right? Like,
It makes you
oh,
push that much
bro,
harder.
like we
Yeah.
were so galvanized, and we just felt like, and then it's like there's all these shit posts, and then um, the same person who posted the original note posted another note that was posted specifically to the morning crew guys that was also on the internet. I guarantee you there are screen caps of that. Um, of like basically saying like it was basically like a motherfuckers better step up in here or they're out. Like it was like a you will all be on time, you will all do this. There will be no free squatting, there will be no board pressing. Like it was just like
An insane list of
we're
things.
going back to book of motherfucking methods and that's it, or you're out. And
Interesting.
that wasn't at us, but we just saw it. So there's like these little like, you know, these little slights that get put on the internet, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, fuck you then. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
like that. Okay, fine, fuck you. Watch this. And we all just like rallied around each other. Like, one of the most upsetting things about this whole thing, of all this stuff, if it had happened 4 weeks later, Val would have had 3 squares on the Westside board. It's like so upsetting, dude. She would have, dude,
Yeah.
such a bummer. And I know she doesn't talk about it a lot. I, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, man, like she's such a sick lifter, and to have that taken from her, just it was so brutal, dude. I felt so bad for her. Um,
Yeah, that's a weird pill to have to kind
yeah,
of
I mean, she got
swallow.
up on the doghouse board, and her numbers on doghouse will be up for a long time. She's got 4 full rows. She got 4 full rows. She's got 65, 81,
No
65,
shit.
81, 98 super heavy, like all of them.
That's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah, very
cool.
cool. That's a hard ass board to get on, dude. Um,
No, no, definitely.
and
Yeah.
uh, uh, my 2505 that I did years later is up there too. So like, got an 1110 on there. I got some good numbers. So it's very
Fucking
cool, yeah,
cool.
to be on that board. Um, so yeah, we went to Doghouse, and we did the thing, like we just,
Trained your
yeah,
fucking
man. And
asses
then
off.
Dave
Yeah.
went and did 3100. It's just like the craziest thing to see, like Dave Hoff 3100 Doghouse Gym under his name on fucking, that's when people really realized it.
Yeah. So I remember when that happened. This was, I was into gear at the time already, but like I didn't really have any connections that could put any of the social pieces together for me,
Yeah.
And I remember like you guys left went to Doghouse, and I know a few people in my gym thought that like Dave opened his own gym
Yeah, there was,
and like that he wanted his own legacy, and like that's why like nobody knew that it was like this like fiery split,
yeah, it was,
at least to like a hyper outsider of this realm
yeah.
at that
And
time.
Doghouse was one of those places where, like, I heard stories early on that Louis would take guys and be like, you look like shit. You go train at the Doghouse for 6 months. Once you get another total, you can come back.
That's also really funny. Like you're getting put
Yeah.
in the doghouse. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. So
Oh,
it was
that's
really
funny.
cool, full circle moment for Val, because she trained there 2 days a week before she trained at Sweatshop full time.
Oh,
Yeah, so
cool.
she was
Yeah.
already on the ones. She had the 165 and the 181s.
Mm, that's where that came
Yeah, isn't
from.
that
Yeah.
cool? So, and when she
That
was
is
there,
really
it was like
cool.
a shithole, dude. No heat, no toilet paper, like fucking putting a squat bar in front of the space heater to try to warm it up before you squat, like all that shit.
Ooh, been
When
there.
Jimmy took it over, and Tim did the best he could. No disrespect to Tim. But when Jimmy took it over, man, like
Didn't it used to be like
it was just
very
one
tiny
side.
and then he
Yeah, it was
blew it
just one
up
side. So
into
the
the
videos you
next?
see of us
Yeah.
on a bench, that's the original side, and that is, I think it's just under 1,000 square feet. And then the other side is
Damn.
like the other
Yeah.
side is like 1,800 or 1,900 square feet. He blew the wall out, so that's where the three monos are and the deadlift platforms and stuff.
That is such a sick like scene. Like the
Yeah.
platform the middle mono is on, and also I don't know where they get made, but I've seen them a few places. I've seen them at like Westside Invitationals and Doghouse.
Legend
Is
banners.
the banners? Yes, the legend banners. Oh my
Those were
god.
Dave's. So he brought
Oh,
those in for the
he
most part. I think a couple of them got made, but
that is
there's in
fucking
that
awesome.
place there's so Cone, uh,
I see Gary Frank,
Gary
Scott
Frank,
Mendelson,
Mendelson, um, Halpert, Fry, uh, Moran. Um, oh man, who is the guy that just passed away this year?
Joe Ladnier.
Ladnier. Um, so little insider scoop that's very cool, by the way. Uh, Jimmy, the owner of the gym, hit me up. Um, Cartinian, Frankel, like heavy hitters,
Yeah.
bro. So Jimmy actually, yes,
Legends.
Jimmy
Yeah.
hit me up. He has like pictures on that one, dude. As like a fan of the history of the sport, you need to get to that gym at some point because the
Oh, I
wall
would
of
love to,
pictures
yeah.
there are like Hussey and like all, dude, just like all of these like really cool. And Cartinian trained there for a while too. Like we used to hang.
Did
Yeah,
he
man, we used
really?
to see him a lot.
Oh,
Actually,
that's
that
really cool.
bench shirt that you see,
Oh, he trained there like when you were
yes,
there. Wow, that's fucking I didn't know that.
not
That's
in a
fucking
serious
insane.
way. Like he did like bodybuilding stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but still.
He the bench shirt that you see Emma in, the red bench shirt you see Emma in the latest Night Crew vlog is Cartinian's 181 world record shirt. Yeah,
Unreal. I
he
love
gave
gear
that to
stories like that.
Val. It ended up in someone else's hands at the gym, and then Emma needed a shirt, so I reached out to a homie, Jeff McDowell, out there, and I got the shirt back. So like
That's really
legendary that
cool.
she's
Yeah.
wearing that. So yeah, Jimmy called me and he says, "Hey, we're setting up a couple more legend banners. I'm doing one for Paul Childress, obviously, and
That's very
Luke
nice.
Edwards." And he was like, "I was just wondering, like, if you would be cool with us making one of you." And I was like,
That's
"Holy
awesome.
shit, bro!" Like, fuck. I was like, "Are you sure? Like, that's crazy, man." So they're working on like kind of expanding a little bit, so it's going to go in the other room. But yeah, he sent me a picture of it.
Is that just like a Columbus print shop that makes
I think
those,
there's a
or is it
couple of
like
different places. They were originally made for like
all
I
right.
think one of the York barbell meets.
Yeah, I
Donnie's on
remember
one of them
I
too. I
remember
forgot about that. Donnie's on one of them. Yeah.
yeah.
So
I've seen him in the background of a few meets and like different gyms and stuff, and I've always wondered like where the hell are
yeah,
they getting these banners? Because they all look
yeah,
the
they have like the
same,
like
you know? You
at
can
large
tell.
nutrition on the bottom or Westside
Yeah, they're
Barbell.
always like
Yeah.
sponsored.
So
Yeah.
really fucking cool. Then obviously Hoff has one there and shit. His is so sick. He's like
Mhm.
yelling at the top of the deadlift from the 3100. He's so funny. Dude, he's so funny. This is like a little sidebar. He at the 3100 meet, my parents were there. They love Dave. Like my parents are the best. They and so my mom's name is Paula and she's got like a pretty heavy like New England accent and she sees Dave after that meet and she's like, "David," she's like, "I saw you yelling at the top of that deadlift. What were you saying?" And he goes, he looks at her and he goes, "Oh, I was saying, this is for you, Paula." So funny.
That's good.
So
That's
yeah, so
funny.
we trained there and everybody had their questions to why we were there and we just kept it, the fact that we were able to keep a lid on this for so long is actually pretty remarkable given how much gossip goes on in powerlifting.
It is because I remember when you and I started getting a little closer. Sorry to kind of break the fourth wall here. I was like, "So how'd you get kicked out?" And you were just like, "Doesn't everyone know by now?" And I was like, "Dude, I have no fucking idea. Like, I have like two tiny rumors that don't make any sense in my head. Like, you need to clear this up for me." And you told me kind of a bunch of the stuff we just talked about in a much shorter, much more abridged version. But you were like, "Damn, I thought everyone knew by now." And I was like,
Well, I
"Nobody
figured everybody
knows."
either knew or didn't give a fuck anymore because to me, it's like so, it's like just seems like a different lifetime ago. I can like, I can like,
Yeah.
I can,
Well, dude, it's weird, but like we've blinked and 2019's 5 years ago.
I can like smell like what my apartment smelled like in that time frame. I can like, like I can smell like what the Wingstop order on the way home smelled like. You know
Fucking
what I mean?
Wingstop.
Like I
Yeah.
can visualize like and like the texture of like the ground and like just all of it, like what it was like standing out in the parking lot talking to these guys and hanging out after and having these moments of like, that's why we started hashtagging raise a shield wall was because we felt like we were getting it from all angles. And
Mhm.
and a reason why I'll never not be loyal to Dave is he stuck with us through all that. He was like the fearless leader. He was making the calls. And he taught me a lot of like what it is um to run a group and to have a crew. And he taught me like a lot of like in those moments of stress to have a moment of pause. And he never had a reactionary like impulsive thing with that. It was all just, dude, I just remember it being like fucking like, October, it's cold, we're standing outside, we're talking and like just having these moments of like, this is how we have to stick together. He like looked at us like he was sitting in his car, we were all standing outside of his truck, and he's like, we have to just stick together through this. We'll get through this. Like we will stick together and everything's going to be fine. If we keep making the right decisions for the right reasons, the right shit will happen. And we did. And it was truly just like an incredible thing. The whole thing, man. Like he didn't he squatted at Westside, the 1280 there, and then he did not squat again until we went to the meet. It
That's about
Yeah,
4 weeks,
crazy,
right?
man. Like it was uh yeah, well, it was probably 6 weeks by the time we were booted and all that stuff. But it's one of those things, man, where yeah, so yeah, we trained there for a couple years, and then we bought this gym and moved out here, and they're still at that doghouse. We built that platform out there, dude. Like it's like you build your own
So
legacy,
who
like you build this like thing out of
Yeah.
another thing, and it was really incredible. Like the whole when you look back on it, it's like it's taken 2 hours and 15 minutes to get to this point, and it's like it's like
That's not
well,
even
that's what
present
I
day.
mean. It's like we could fucking start over, and there's probably other things that would squeak out that I forgot about, or there's so many things. And so yeah, I mean, we moved back here and started building a crew, and now I have my group out here. There's the group out there, and twice a year we all get together and do the WPO thing. And a couple times a year, some of them will come out and do our meet out here, and it's fucking
Mhm.
incredible, dude. It's just I never
Yeah.
thought, when I first met Dave, I would never thought we would be friends, and I never thought it would, say, he's one of my brothers. Like it's like he's just taught me so much. So and I think that gets us up to current day, right? Like we're present day now. Like, is there anything?
Yeah, and not to gloss over your crew in New Hampshire, but that's obviously very well documented stuff that
Yeah,
happened. Like it's either it's on your Instagram, or if you go on the Patreon, you pretty much talk about like every single week that's been a thing with the Night Crew training vlogs. Like it's none of that stuff is
right. It's
hidden.
very easy
So
to, and it's like none of
it's
it's secret, and I don't care. And people who have gotten I would like to put the stop to a certain rumor that I heard. I heard that I kick people out of my group if they have a kid, which is just like
it's one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard in my
completely
life.
fucking outrageous. It's like, nah, kick you out if you're an asshole.
You have a training partner who
No
has two
shit.
kids, not just a
Two
kid,
kids.
two kids that he had and then came there and started
Yeah.
training.
So, but I'll tell you what, owning a gym, having my crew, having or the crew, and then having like people that I train in separate crews and at the gym and the culture there, like I can understand a lot of what Louis did. I can understand a lot of the things that Dave did that frustrated me at times. Now I understand it a little bit more. Because what's that quote? It's like leader of the pack gets all the apples, but also gets all the arrows.
Yeah.
So it's just yeah. There's a few things I want to say, but I kind of want to wait until we're like we've really cleared everything. But I think we've cleared everything. I think everything is basically out there.
I mean, I don't really know anything else. Like, there's nothing else in this, like, you know, email that you shared with me that was all stuff you wanted to hit on. I guess
I think that's it.
I don't know. I mean, do you have anything else that you want to put out there? Because that kind of answers every question that I ever had about
Yeah.
it.
So, like, to reiterate, I am not mad at Louis. I'm not mad at Westside. I'm not mad at, you know, there's certain people I won't associate with because I saw how they treated Dave after that. And it was like people who had known him for fucking 15 years turning their backs on him is the craziest fucking thing I've ever heard of. Um,
Hmm.
and so to me, I'm like, fuck you forever. Right. Um, and listen, I think some people might listen to this podcast and be irritated or annoyed by some of the things that I said. And I welcome those people to reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation. Anybody who thinks that I misrepresented something, I'm totally open to have a conversation. But this was told through my perspective and my experiences, and everything that I said here happened. And I'm not mad. I was so mad at Louis for so long, dude. I was so fucking mad at him. And I was so mad at that gym for just like, man, I was just so fucking pissed that like I felt like I didn't get the respect that I fucking deserved. I felt like I never got the chance to lead like I truly can. Like I'm out here with these guys, and you've basically like made me accept some of this shit, but it's like I am a leader and people do look to me for things, and I've always had those same qualities, and I wasn't allowed to showcase them when I was at Westside, and when I was in the night crew in Ohio with Dave, like there's no question who the fucking alpha badass is there, right? So it's like
Hmm.
the type of leadership that I tried to show there was just like extreme, unwavering loyalty, a good work ethic. And, I was like his guy if he needed to, like, when we brought in Snooky, he's like, do you know anybody who could come in? And I'm like, I got a kid who's pretty fucking good. He could be really good. Brought him in. Like, like when we brought in, um, Brandon Bergen, he drove all the way up there to just wrap my knees one night. And Dave was like, who else could we bring in? I was like, what do you think about Brandon? He said, he showed up, he helped, and he didn't talk too much. He's in. And we used to joke about all the time how it was harder to get into. It was the hardest training group on the planet to get into.
I mean, yeah, and from what it's worth, as an outsider, it was also the most secretive crew in terms of how you guys trained. None of us, nobody
Yeah.
knew. Nobody knew anything about it, and like, obviously you coach people, and that was kind of viewed as like the closest window to what the night crew does. Like that's how that was viewed, and that was fucking crazy to people.
Yeah, and we were basically. It's not like Dave was like, "You're not allowed to post things," but it was pretty well documented that like he didn't want everyone knowing how he did stuff. And
Yeah, and also as a competitor, you don't want everyone knowing exactly how you're performing all the
exactly.
time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was it would be so fun to be like in the parking lot, be like, "Yo, who's posted their bench from last week? Oh, you are? Okay, I'm gonna post the speed pulls. All right, rad." And like just like just like and just like fuck around because we knew there was a certain amount of people that really wanted to know. But yeah, like I said, I think that there's and we talked about this, like it's felt really good to get all this stuff off my chest. I've been, dancing around these questions for a really long time. And now anytime someone asks me, I can just send them this link and be like, here's 2.5 hours. Here's
Here's
everything. You'll never
everything.
have another fucking question again. But there's people that, dude, it's like, when this comes out, people will have seen the reel. Yeah. So the reel that we posted to pump this, it's like sitting there making it, getting just emotional watching it, because you see like this span of your life go by in a 90-second clip, and
Yeah, it's gotta be a
all of
weird
the
feeling.
emotions that came around, and like remembering how fucking hyped I was in the beginning and how angry I was at the end. And and I think that there's people, what I hope comes of this is that there's a certain amount of people that will understand why I've acted the way that I've acted at certain times. And I hope that people have not, you know, can give me some grace for some of the ways that I acted, maybe, in a couple of those years, just with the level of anger that I had. And, and that people can understand that, like, when you go through something like that, when like all you want is this fucking dude's approval, and like your best is just not good enough in that moment for him, that is like a terrible feeling. And I don't blame Louis for anything. I think Louis is a gangster. I said it to Val the other day. Like, I hate that powerlifting exists, that and Louis is not alive anymore. I fucking hate it, dude. And not because like I would like rekindle something with him. Like, he would never fucking do that. We're not gonna be friends, right? But man, like, just like, I miss knowing that he was just doing his thing. And it's upsetting
Yeah.
to have that, when he died, it was such a polarizing thing. I hadn't really processed a lot of this. Talking a lot of this stuff out, it helped me like kind of work through some of it. But I just hope that it puts to context, like, you know, why certain things transpired, why I acted a certain way. I hope that people who knew me during that time, who may have thought I came off a certain way, now understand like what I was going through and what it was like. And I don't think that the people around me acted right all the time, and I don't think that I acted right all the time. But it's weird because it's like this extended sort of content and platform. Most of the time, like, you hear like when AJ left, it's a 2 sentence story. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
When Greg left, it's a 1 paragraph story. Coker left, 1 paragraph story. Like, these, it's short. And not that theirs didn't have context and nuance. Um but mine, I think, based on how many people have asked me and how long it's been and how many people were involved, the level of context is just so high, dude. Like,
Yeah, and also, like, for what it's worth, a lot of the other people that you just talked about, it was put on a Netflix documentary.
yeah,
You getting kicked out, like, well, it's gonna be on another documentary hopefully soon, but it's been just, like, tight to the chest forever, and it's, you know, Dave's kinda like the guy, and
yes.
his crew was like the crew, and everyone kind of wanted to know what happened. It was just like a very, and Westside was like the gym. So it's kind of like there's almost like this kind of like lifestyles of the rich and famous aspect to it that everyone wanted to know. At least everyone that
Yeah.
I know. Everyone that I know
Isn't that
wanted to
kind of
know.
weird? Like, isn't that kind of weird? Like, it feels weird to me that people would like be this invested in what happened to me, And I think that, like, I don't know. I had every fucking right. Louis had every right to do what he did. I think I had every right to do what I did. I was trying to, like, like, lying about fucking training at night and all that stuff, and like
Dentist
I
appointments
was
and
doing it.
jobs,
I
man.
was
It's
doing it
crazy.
to try to be the best lifter I could possibly be. And if there's anyone who should understand that, it'd be Louis, right? Like, I'll throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'll throw the fucking everybody over the ship to keep it afloat. And so I was doing the same thing. Like, fuck the world. When it comes down to it, I'm the only person lifting the fucking weights. And I didn't uproot my whole life to be told how I have to do this. Like, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
extremely proud, you know, now that I've, like, wavered a little bit and said my apologies or fucking like, you know, whatever. It's like I'm extremely proud to say that like I trained there. I got kicked out twice, and since I've left, I've broken a world record twice, opened a gym, won WPO semifinals, done every WPO event that's happened. I'm the only person that can say that he's done every single one. Um, and I'm like extremely proud of that. And I'm also super grateful for my time that I spent there because it was fucking sick, dude. Like I feel like the generation of Westside that I was a part of was the last one that was truly connected to the original. In in
That makes sense just from my
you know, in
knowledge
my
of it.
opinion, it seems like my time there was the last time where there was like a direct line to, you know, like, dude, Bob Coe looked at me. I've never told this before. Bob Coe looked at me at the meet that I squatted 11 at in front of all the West Side guys. And we had like some pretty good interactions, you know. He looked at me and he was just like, "Don't let it get to you. You're more West Side than half of those motherfuckers over there." And like, I mean, it that's pretty fucking legit, bro. You know what I mean? To get it from
You should print that out and frame
to
it.
get to get the
Like,
approval from Bob like that, someone who was there in the fucking beginning, you know, is huge. So yeah, man, that's my fucking story, and I'm sticking to it.
well,
hopefully,
as we've said 150 times, it
hopefully,
happened.
hopefully people liked it. Hopefully people like hearing about it, and I'm excited for the doc to come out. I don't know how much of any of this will be discussed in it. Um,
Well, I mean, even if not a lot of this specifically is discussed, the of what is, it'll be visual. You'll see it, which is
yeah,
pretty
I
cool.
think it adds context to the whole fucking thing. Like, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm beside myself excited for it to come out whenever it does. I mean, I love getting to like see a lot of that stuff. Like I loved Westside versus the World. I love, like old powerlifting USA's, the whole 9 yards. So it's
I
going to be
still watch
awesome.
that. I watch Westside versus the World fucking pre-training, like while I'm eating my pre-workout meal, like
Oh, and pre-meet
yes,
always, I bet. Yeah.
for 10 minutes while you know, like in 10-minute chunks.
Always.
Um,
Yeah, it's like that, the old West Side tapes, like that kind of. I have a folder of just like all the old West Side tapes that I've bought over
fuck
the
yeah,
years,
dude,
and
that's so sick. Yeah,
yeah.
man. So yeah, that's it, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And dude, thank you for kind of pushing me to share it. You know, like Val kind of did the same thing. Was just like, dude, like you should just tell your fucking story, and I'm stoked to
Yeah,
get it out there.
I do want everyone to know that to get to this point was very difficult. Anthony was very hesitant about telling this stuff. I think it's understandable why. And then like, I mean, Val and I did not coordinate this, but it seems like simultaneously we just poked and poked and poked and poked, and then eventually you kind of got the blessings you needed, and you and I put it together. So I hope this gives everyone enough to like chew on and listen to until we get up and rolling with season two.
Yes.
I think this has a lot of replay
Yeah.
value
And
for people.
definitely in the future maybe we can do like a Q&A about this sort of stuff. I
That'd be
would totally
awesome.
be
Yeah.
down for that.
I mean, maybe we can see how fast this lights social media on fire, and maybe there could be like a brief part two before season two starts of just like shit people have asked us in the first week that we can talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, and then as far as season 2, we've got some stuff lined up that's really fucking cool and polarizing.
We're
We
gonna. Oh, I can't tell
we
you the
are the
fucking screaming matches Anthony and I've gotten into about the dumbest
we are the
shit
fucking
in.
we are the clickbait masters, dude. It's gonna happen, bro.
It's all Anthony fucking sets me up for shit too. It is
It's
frustrating.
the old bull and the young bull. But
It is, and it's man. You know what? We got in a fucking argument, and I need to clear the air here. Anthony Anthony has this great ability to agree with him and then somehow still twist what I say and piss me off about it and get us into an argument.
it's taken many years to perfect. If
And listen, I fucking get it. High pot,
if
I'm kettle.
if
You know what I mean? Like I do the same thing, but
if
it bothers the shit. It really ruined my Sunday
if
last
I want to
week.
have an argument, we're having one. And that's just how it goes, even if it's the same thing.
That's
So,
true.
all right, cool. Well, this is a great place to stop. Why don't you give social media where people can grab you and all that stuff?
Instagram at RPEFML, and on the Trigger Warning Conjugate website, you can find some of my articles. More will keep going up there. The intro to Conjugate one, or like the Conjugate 101, that has its own tab. I saw that. Thank you. I think that's a great resource if you're trying to learn the basics of the system. It is not the end all be all. It is not how either of us really currently run it in great detail, but it is a great bridge between ground zero and something like Book of Methods. So, especially the glossary, I think it'll help you understand a lot of the
Dude,
stuff in there.
yes, the conjugate um a
A brief
brief
introduction.
introduction, forward misspelled, is
Yeah, Anthony doubled down on that. I tried to tell him, and he just texted
I
me,
said
"Fuck him."
so so that's a great place to start. Yeah, twcstayhated.com. You can grab like a bunch of his articles, some of my articles, that conjugate thing where basically like he put it together and wrote it and I put a little forward in the front of it, plus all the apparel and stuff like that. My social media, Anthony CW13, trigger underscore warning underscore conjugate. And then the gym page is Anchor Athletics NH. We sold out of the Winnie meet. We're getting up on that. We got, if you're interested in sponsoring that, please let us know. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, please let us know. And we've got some shirts left from this last drop. So if you want a cool shirt, we've got new shirts with a 65% off coupon for any program in the store. That's all we got for today. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll fucking catch you next time.